ఫార్మెట్ కూడా ఇచ్చారు. ఆ ఫార్మెట్లో ఏమనుంది? సిగ్నేచర్ ఆఫ్ ద ఫామ్ అంటే ఎవరైతే బిడ్ సబ్మిట్ చేస్తారో ఆయనది, కన్ఫర్మేషన్ ఫ్రమ్ GIPCL, గుజరాత్ Industries Power Corporation Limited. It is to certify that the officials from MESSER have visited the Valia lignite mine on dated. అని ఈ గుజరాత్ ఇండస్ట్రీ పవర్ కార్పొరేషన్ లిమిటెడ్ సంబంధించిన అధికారి కూడా సైట్ విజిట్ చేసినట్టు సంతకం పెట్టి ఆ ఫార్మెట్లో ఇవ్వాలని స్పష్టంగా. దిస్ ఈస్ ఈ దేశంలోదే గుజరాత్ కూడా, ఇట్ ఇస్ నాట్ అవుట్ సైడ్ ది కంట్రీ. OB removal of ignite mining, Tadakeshwar ignite mine at Surat. The site visit certificate, the site visit to the Tadakeshwar ignite mine is mandatory. The bidder should submit the certificate duly signed by GMDC project authority as a proof site in Form H. OB removal and ignite mining at Tadakeshwar GMDC, Gujarat Mineral Development Corporation. Clear? And coming to NMDC, again, transportation of iron ore from Kumaraswamy mine to Swamihalli siding at Donimalai, Karnataka, and build, operate, transfer and hybrid annuity model. Site visit. The bidder shall mandatorily visit the site before submission of the bid to understand the present conditions and gather necessary inputs for the project, and shall submit a site visit certificate duly certified by competent authority at site of the employer, failing which bid shall be rejected. Neyveli Lignite Corporation. ఇది కూడా నవరత్న కంపెనీ. నవరత్న గవర్నమెంట్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియా ఎంటర్ప్రైజెస్ మినిస్ట్రీ ఆఫ్ కోల్, dated 5/1/2026, latest. What is there in this? Clarification and site visit. The bidder shall contact head of the project. ఇది ఇంకా తీవ్రమైన కండిషన్స్ పెట్టు. The bidder shall contact head of the project division of the NLCIL with prior appointment for arranging site visit. A request for site visit shall be made at least 15 days prior to the scheduled tender opening date, and no site visit shall be permitted after the tender opening date. Fine, sir. ఇదేంటది? నవరత్న గవర్నమెంట్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియా ఎంటర్ప్రైజ్ మినిస్ట్రీ ఆఫ్ కోల్. ఐఎమ్ నాట్ హోల్డింగ్ దిస్ పోర్ట్ఫోలియో. ఉత్తరాఖండ్ సైనిక్ స్కూల్. ఐఎమ్ కమింగ్ టు Science School Defense Ministry. Science School Uttarakhand site visit, even for the Science School Defense Department, Ministry of Defense. The site visit certificate signed by the administrative officer of the Science School Gorkal must be included with the technical bid. Failure to include this certificate will result in rejection of the technical bid. Defense Ministry. I am coming to another important Ministry of Finance, Government of India. I think ఇదేంటి జమ్ గవర్నమెంట్ ఆఫ్ మార్కెట్ ప్లేస్. జమ్ మార్కెట్ గవర్నమెంట్ ఈ మార్కెట్ ప్లేస్ ఉంది కదా, దానికి అదే డిపార్ట్మెంట్ ఆఫ్ ఎకనామిక్ అఫైర్స్, the Organization of Security Printing and Minting Corporation of India Limited. Security Printing and Minting Corporation of India Limited, Madhya Pradesh. Site visit. Bidders are advised to visit the site before quoting in order to completely understand the scope requirement of site conduct before quoting, and bidders have to mandatory upload the site visit certificate issued by BNP at the time of bid submission. Clear, sir? This is Department of Economic Affairs. Mahatma Phule Energy and Infrastructure Technology Limited, Government of Maharashtra undertaking the Mahatma Phule Renewable Energy Infrastructure Technology, Maharashtra government. In this mandatory site visit, all bidders must visit the site before submitting their quotation. A site visit certificate is prescribed format duly signed by the concerned site in charge or authority must be submitted along with the technical bid. This is Maharashtra government. Sainik School MOD Government of India. This is again Defense Ministry. Site, name of the site inspector, date, school representative. All సంతకం కూడా కావాలని అడిగింది. Authority to carry out site survey. Authority hereby accorded so. Science school, ఇది కూడా దానికి సంబంధించి. Then, ఇంకోటి ఇంపార్టెంట్. దీన్ దయాల్ పోర్ట్ అథారిటీ, మెకానికల్ ఇంజనీరింగ్ డిపార్ట్మెంట్. దీన్ దయాల్ పోర్ట్ అథారిటీ, గాంధీధామ్, కచ్, గుజరాత్. ఇది పోర్ట్ ఏమిచ్చాడండి? ఎవిడెన్స్ టువర్డ్స్ ది సైట్ విజిట్. సైట్ విజిట్ ఎవిడెన్స్ కూడా ఉండాలని పెట్టింది. దాంట్లో నేమ్, డిజిగ్నేషన్, సిగ్నేచర్ ఆఫ్ దీన్ దయాల్ పోర్ట్ అథారిటీ, representative who assisted bidder during site visit, name and signature, seal of the bidder. Bidder సంతకం ఉండాలి. అక్కడ దీన్ దయాల్ పోర్ట్ అథారిటీ అతను డిజిగ్నేషను, పేరు, ఆయన సంతకం కూడా ఉండాలి ఆయన విజిట్ చేసినట్టు. దిస్ ఇస్ ది కండిషన్. ఈ పోర్ట్ నాట్ ఇన్ తెలంగాణ. కమింగ్ టు టర్మ్స్ అండ్ కండిషన్స్, HPCL. HPCL is also Government of India. Site inspection report. Contractor, vendor must visit the site. Site visit is mandatory as the vendor has to see the specimens kept at the office for the quality, design and branding purpose. The site inspection report duly signed by vendor and HPCL officer must be submitted by contractor. HPCL ఆఫీసర్ కూడా సంతకం సైట్ విజిట్ చేసినట్టు ఆయన సంతకం పెట్టిస్తేనే. దిస్ ఈజ్ మహారాష్ట్రలో మహారత్న కంపెనీ. సారీ, HPCL ఈజ్ మహారత్న కంపెనీ, గవర్నమెంట్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియా. ఇండియన్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్ ఆఫ్ టెక్నాలజీ, IIT. దిస్ ఈజ్ జమ్మూలో గవర్నమెంట్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియా, మినిస్ట్రీ ఆఫ్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ కిందకి వస్తుంది. Site visit certificate duly verified by IIT Jammu Annexure 11. Jammu IIT Education Department, Government of India. IIM is very prestigious institution in the country. IIM Bangalore is also under Government of India, Ministry of Education. Site visit by the bidder is mandatory. The bidder should visit the work site and obtain the site visit certificate by IIMB and Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, and shall submit the copy of the certificate along with the tender. The Education Department. Coming to Government of Sare, ఇంకా మిగతా డిపార్ట్మెంట్స్ సంబంధించి కూడా ఉన్నాయి. ఇన్ని చూపించాను నేను మీకు ఇప్పటికీ, ఇంకా చాలా ఉన్నాయి నా దగ్గర. ఎవరికైనా డౌట్ ఉంటే మన స్టేట్కి కూడా ఉన్నాయి, అవి కూడా ఇస్తాను నేను మీకు. ఫస్ట్ అసలు ఈ రాష్ట్రంలో ఎక్కడా లేదు, దేశంలో ఎక్కడా లేదని మాట్లాడుతున్నారు కదా. సింగరేణిలో ఇప్పుడే పెట్టారని అంటున్నారు కదా. సింగరేణిలో ఇప్పుడు కాదు, 18, 21, 23. అది కూడా సింగరేణి వాళ్ళు పెట్టింది కాదు, అది కూడా ఇచ్చాం మీకు. ఆ కాపీస్ కూడా ఇస్తాం. ఓకే, కమింగ్ టు ఇంకొక పాయింట్ రాశాడు. సో ఇవన్నీ ఎక్కడా లేవు. భట్టి విక్రమార్క కొత్తగా క్రియేట్ చేశాడు సైట్ విజిట్. సో ఈ సైట్ విజిట్తోనే అంతా అసలు విషయం అంతా అని ఉండేవారు. నేను అడుగుతా ఉన్నాను, సరే ఆయన ఏదో రాశాడు, ఎవరి ప్రయోజనాల కోసం రాశాడు, ఎవరి కళ్ళల్లో ఆనందం చూడాలని రాశాడో సరే ఆయనకు వదిలేస్తా ఉన్నాను. సరే ఆయన ఆనందం ఆయన ఎత్తుక్కుంటున్నాడు. వీరు రాశారు లెటర్ ఇంకో ఆయన ఎమ్మటే హరీష్ రావు గారు. అసలు ఇదేంది, అసలు ఇంతవరకు వారి లెటర్ చూస్తే ఇంకా ఆశ్చర్యం అనిపించింది. వారే రాశారు, ఆఫ్టర్ ది చేంజ్ ఆఫ్ ద తెలంగాణ స్టేట్ గవర్నమెంట్ ఇన్ 2024 SCCL and Singareni Corporation Government introduced a so-called site visit certificate system as a mandatory precondition for participation in tenders. So-called site certificate ఇప్పుడే 2024లో గవర్నమెంట్, కాంగ్రెస్ గవర్నమెంట్ వచ్చిన తర్వాత ఇది పెట్టారు. దీని మీద ఇమ్మీడియట్గా మీరు ఎంక్వైరీ చేయాలి, దీని మీద చాలా నష్టం జరుగుతుంది. మీరు లెటర్ రాశారు. వారు ఏమంటే ఆడ కూర్చొని నిజమే ఇది ఏడాది లేదని వారు చెప్పారు. ఏడాది ఉందని నేను వీరికి చూపించా, వారికి చూపించా, రాసిన ఆయనకు చూపించా. మీ ద్వారా రాష్ట్ర ప్రజలకు కూడా వాస్తవాలు తెలుసు. ఇది సైట్ సర్టిఫికేట్ సంబంధించిన విషయం. సరే, రెండో విషయం, మీరు అనొచ్చు అసలు టెండర్ పిలిచారు మీరెందుకు క్యాన్సిల్ చేశారు, ఇవన్నీ ఉన్నాయి కదా అని. కానీ నేను ఆ రోజు చదవడంలోనే రాష్ట్ర ప్రజలకు వాస్తవాలు తెలియకుండా దీన్ని ఎట్లా కంటిన్యూ చేస్తే ఇంకా అడ్డగోలుగా అభియోగాలు ఊహించుకోవటాలు మొదలైతే ముందు అది ఆపేసి వాస్తవాలు చెప్పేసి పరిస్థితులు ఇది ముందు క్యాన్సిల్. ద రీజన్ ఆల్సో నేను చెప్తే ఎందుకు క్యాన్సిల్, అంత ఎమోషనల్గా నేను సింగరేణితో ఎందుకు అటాచ్మెంట్ ఉందో కూడా చెప్తాను నేను వైల్ కంక్లూడింగ్. దీంతో పాటు ఇంకో కండిషన్ ఇంకోటి కూడా రాశారు వారు, ఎవరు, హరీష్ రావు గారు. Simultaneous Singareni long-standing practice of bulk diesel procurement directly from IOCL was discontinued, and the responsibility of diesel supply was shifted to contractors. ఎవరు షిఫ్ట్ చేశారండి? సరే, ఎవరు షిఫ్ట్ చేసినా కానీ డీజిల్ అనేది, కోల్ అనేది జిఎస్టీ మారక ముందు ఒక విధానం, జిఎస్టీ రేట్లు మొన్న రేషనలైజేషన్ చేశారు కదా, చేసిన తర్వాత ఒక విధానం. దేశంలో ఏ మైనింగ్ యాక్టివిటీలో కానీ, ఏ కాంట్రాక్టర్ దగ్గర కానీ, కాంట్రాక్టర్ చేసేటువంటి వాహనాలకి, నడిపే బండ్లకి సంస్థలు, ప్రభుత్వాలు డీజిల్ సప్లై చేసేది ఎక్కడ లేదు. కేవలం సింగరేణి ఒక్క దాంట్లోనే నడుస్తుంది పాతకాలం నుంచి. దేశంలో ఎక్కడా లేదు. మరి కోల్ ఇండియాలో లేదు, ఆడలేదు, ఏడలేదు. ఎందుకు వేరే కాంట్రాక్ట్స్, ఇరిగేషన్లో లేదు, రోడ్ కాంట్రాక్టులో లేదు. ఎవడు బండి ఏం తెచ్చుకుంటాడో తెలియదు. ఇవాళ వచ్చిన మారిన పరిస్థితుల్లో వెహికల్స్లో ఇప్పుడు ఫార్చునర్ 1 కిలోమీటర్కి 8 లీటర్ డీజిల్ కావాలా? అదే ల్యాండ్ క్రూజర్ అయితే 3 కిలోమీటర్లు 5 కిలోమీటర్లు వస్తుంది. ఫార్చునర్ అయితే 10 కిలోమీటర్లు 12 వస్తుంది. ఇంకోటి అయితే 20 కిలోమీటర్లు కూడా వస్తుంది. నువ్వు ఏది లెక్కేసి ఏ వెహికల్స్ ఇస్తావు? హెవీ మెషిన్స్ వాడుతున్నట్లు కొత్త టెక్నాలజీ వచ్చి ఎక్కువ తాగుతూ ఉంటాయి, లేకపోతే లోకల్గా ఉన్న బళ్ళు ఇంకో రకంగా తాగుతూ ఉంటాయి. ఏది ఎట్లా కట్టాలో తెలియదు. ఆ పరిస్థితుల్లో వీళ్ళు అసలు ఇదంతా ఏం జరుగుతుంది అంటే, వాళ్ళు తీసుకొచ్చి నాకు సార్ ఈ డీజిల్లో ఒక సందర్భంలో 2 చోట్ల చాలా పెద్ద డీజిల్ థెఫ్ట్ జరిగి పెద్ద స్కామ్ జరిగింది, దాని మీద విజిలెన్స్ కేసు కూడా నడుస్తున్నాయంటే, అయితే దెన్ దేశంలో ఏముందో ఎగ్జామిన్ చేసుకోండి అని వాళ్ళ మేనేజ్మెంట్ వాళ్ళకి చెప్తే, వాళ్ళు దేశంలో ఉన్నాయన్నీ ఎగ్జామిన్ చేసుకొని ఆ డీజిల్ అనే దాని మీద థెఫ్ట్ జరగకుండా విజిలెన్స్ కేసులు పెట్టుకోవాలి దీంట్లో. సరే, పెట్టుకున్న తర్వాత కూడా నేను అడిగా అసలు దీనికి దానికి ఏంటంటే, సార్ అప్పుడు కోల్ మీద 5% ఉండేది జిఎస్టీ, ఇప్పుడు ఈ ప్రభుత్వం వచ్చిన తర్వాత 18% చేసింది. ఇన్పుట్ అవుట్పుట్ దాని బ్యాలెన్స్ అవుతుంది. అట్లాగే ఉంచితే సింగరేణి తడిసి మోపిడవుతుంది, సింగరేణి మీద భారం పడుతుంది. సో సింగరేణి ప్రొటెక్ట్ చేయడం కోసం చేసుకున్నాం. ఈవెన్ దెన్ మరి మీరే చేశారని, మేము కాదు సార్, అప్పుడే చేశారు, అప్పుడే మార్చారు. ఎప్పుడు మార్చారు అని అడిగాను. ఎప్పుడు మార్చారు అంటే దానికి సంబంధించి సింగరేణి ఇప్పుడు మనం నైని కోల్ బ్లాక్ అనుకుంటున్నాం కదా, నైని కోల్ బ్లాక్ సంబంధించి ఓబీ టెండర్లు అప్పుడే వారి హయాంలోనే పిలిచారు. వారు కూడా దీంట్లో కూడా రాశారు. ఆ కాంట్రాక్ట్ కూడా అత్యంత అనుభవజ్ఞుడు, ఆయన మామూలుడు కాదు, ఇంద్రుడు చంద్రుడు. ఆయనకి ఇస్తే ఆయన కూడా దీంట్లో పోటీదాడు అంటే సంతోషమే. మరి అప్పుడు ఓబీ నుంచి అప్పుడే చేస్తుండే, మరి అప్పటి నుంచి మొదలుపెట్టినా ఇంతవరకు ఎందుకు చేయలేదంటే, సరే రకరకాల కారణాలు చెప్పారు. 2014 నుంచే మొదలు పెట్టాలి కదా, 15 నుంచే చేయాలి కదా, చేయలేదు. 2023, 24 తర్వాత నేను వెళ్ళి ఆ ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారిని కలిసి, ఒరిస్సా ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారిని కలిసి, అక్కడ ఉన్నటువంటి ఫారెస్ట్ మినిస్టర్ని కలిసి, అధికారులను కలిసి, వారందరితో మీటింగ్ పెట్టించి క్లియరెన్సెస్ అన్నీ ఇప్పించేసి మొదలుపెట్టారు. వారికి టెండర్ ఇచ్చినప్పుడు, ఇది ఎప్పుడు ఇచ్చారండి? 24/7/2022. ఈ పేపర్ కూడా మీకు ఇస్తాను. 24/7/2022 నైని ఏరియా ఒడిషా స్టేట్ డ్యూరింగ్ ఎ పీరియడ్ ఆఫ్ 24 months. ఏం చేశారు ఇందులో? ఇంక్లూడింగ్ డీజిల్ కాస్ట్. ఈ డీజిల్ కాస్ట్ కాంట్రాక్ట్ దాని బదులు దీంట్లో పెట్టుకొని కాంట్రాక్ట్ సింగరేణి సప్లై చేసే బదులు కాంట్రాక్ట్కి ఇంక్లూడ్ చేసి కాస్ట్ వేసి ఇచ్చారు, లెక్కేసి. అదే ఆయన రాశాడు. ఎందుకు మార్చారు మీరు? మార్చింది ఎవరు? ఇది 2022లో కాంగ్రెస్ ప్రభుత్వం లేదు, భట్టి విక్రమార్క లేడు. ఎవరున్నారు వాళ్ళు అడగండి మరి ఎందుకు మార్చారు. ఇదే డీజిల్కి సంబంధించి ఈ 2 అంశాలు చుట్టే వారు అసలు మొత్తం ఇదైపోతుంది, అదే అయిపోతుంది అని చెప్పేసి సింగరేణి దోపిడీకి గురైపోతుంది, నష్టం జరుగుతుంది. అది మీరు వచ్చిన తర్వాత ఇంకొక అంశం కూడా లేపారు. ఏంటది? అది ఈ గవర్నమెంట్ వచ్చిన తర్వాత కొద్దిమంది టెండర్లు క్యాన్సిల్ చేసి ఇంకా కొద్దిమందికి ఇచ్చారు. ఆ కొద్దిమందికి ఇచ్చిన దాంట్లో సుజన్ రెడ్డి అనే ఒక అతను ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారికి సంబంధించిన బామ్మర్ది, ఆయన కట్టబెట్టడం కోసమే ఇవన్నీ చేస్తూ ఉన్నారు. దీంట్లో మీరు వచ్చిన తర్వాత అన్ని పాతయాన్ని తీసేసి చేశారు అని వారు ఒక లేఖ రాశారు. ఇట్లా నేను కరెక్టే. ఇప్పుడు మీకు ఆ కాగితాలు కూడా ఇస్తాను నేను. మొత్తం సింగరేణిలో ఓబీ కాంట్రాక్ట్స్ టెండర్ జరిగాయి 25. 25లో 20 వరకు టీఆర్ఎస్ టైంలో జరిగినాయి. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 వరకు ఈ గవర్నమెంట్ వచ్చిన తర్వాత జరిగింది. ఈ గవర్నమెంట్ వచ్చిన తర్వాత ఎవరికి వచ్చినాయి? సైట్ విజిట్ కండిషన్ పెట్టుకొని సుజన్ రెడ్డి గారికి అప్పచెప్పడం కోసమే ఇదంతా అసలు పెట్టి జరుగుతుంది. సైట్ విజిట్ పెడితే సుజన్ రెడ్డి గారు ఆయన బామ్మది కాబట్టి మొత్తం ఆయనకే దారాదత్తం చేయడానికి ఇస్తున్నారంటే, వాళ్ళు నేను అడుగుతున్నాను, ఈ సుజన్ రెడ్డి ఎవరు? ఈ సుజన్ రెడ్డి ఎవరు? ఈ సుజన్ రెడ్డి ఆయన కంపెనీ సోదా కన్స్ట్రక్షన్స్ ప్రైవేట్ లిమిటెడ్. ఈ కంపెనీ ఎండి దీప్తి రెడ్డి, మాజీ టీఆర్ఎస్ ఎమ్మెల్యే కందాల ఉపేందర్ రెడ్డి గారు కుమార్తె. ఆమె భర్త ఆయన అల్లుడే సుజన్ రెడ్డి. ఈ ఉపేందర్ రెడ్డి గారు నేను సిఎల్పి లీడర్గా ఉన్నప్పుడు నాతో పాటు కాంగ్రెస్ పార్టీలో 2018లో గెలిచి నాతో ఉండాల్సినటువంటి వ్యక్తిని మీరు ప్రలోభాలు చేర్చి మీ పార్టీలో చేర్చుకొని ఆ టెండర్ అని, ఈ టెండర్ అని, ఆ కాంట్రాక్ట్ అని ఆయన దేశపోయిన అల్లుడేనా? ఇప్పటికి కూడా ఉపేందర్ రెడ్డి గారు మీ దగ్గర ఉన్నాడు. ముఖ్యమంత్రి రేవంత్ రెడ్డి గారికి ఏం సంబంధం అసలు? ఎట్లా అంటారు మీరు? ఇదే కంపెనీకి వికేఓసి 1 కొత్తగూడెం టెండర్ డేట్ 25/9/2023. డీటెయిల్స్ కూడా ఇస్తాను. 23లో మేమెవరు లేవు. ఇదే కంపెనీ పక్కన ఉన్న వికేఓసి 2 ప్రాజెక్ట్ 2022 అక్టోబర్లో కూడా మళ్ళీ వాళ్ళకే ఇచ్చారు. సో ఇన్ వాట్ వే ముఖ్యమంత్రి రేవంత్ రెడ్డి గారి సంబంధం దీంతో? మీ పార్టీలోకి కాంగ్రెస్ పార్టీలో గెలిచిన ఎమ్మెల్యేనే ప్రలోభ పెట్టి మీ పార్టీలో చేర్చుకొని మీరే వర్క్లు ఇచ్చి అదంతా చేసుకొని వాళ్ళు ఆ బురద మాకు పోయాలని ప్రయత్నం చేస్తే ఎట్లా? నెంబర్ 1. నెంబర్ 2, ఇంకోటి కళ్యాణ కన్నీ ఓపెన్ 5 ఉన్నాయి కదా, 5 పేర్లు చదువుతాను నేను అసలు. కళ్యాణ కన్నీ ఓపెన్ ప్రాజెక్ట్ మందమరి, టెండర్ డేట్ 24/5/2025. పాల్గొన్న వాళ్ళు 12 మంది. ఎవరికి కూడా సైట్ విజిట్ సర్టిఫికేట్ నిరాకరించలేదు. కాంట్రాక్ట్ పొందిన సంస్థ ఎక్స్ప్రెస్ వే ఆర్వీఎస్ఆర్. ఆర్వీఎస్ఆర్ అంటే ఆర్ విద్యాసాగర్ రావు గారు జేవి. ఎక్స్ప్రెస్ వే ఎవరిది? ఆర్ విద్యాసాగర్ రావు గారు ఎవరు? ఈ ఎక్స్ప్రెస్ వే ప్రైవేట్ లిమిటెడ్ ఎండి దీక్షిత్ రావు గారు. సరే, విద్యాసాగర్ రావు గారు ఎవరో మీకు తెలుసు. క్లియర్. ఇంకోటి ఆర్జీఓసి 2 ఎక్స్టెన్షన్ ప్రాజెక్ట్ టెండర్ 4/7/2025. పాల్గొన్న బిడ్డలు 6 మంది. కాంట్రాక్ట్ పొందిన సంస్థ C5 ఇంజనీరింగ్ ప్రైవేట్ లిమిటెడ్. డైరెక్టర్లు నిశాంతరావు, మదన్మోహన్ రావు. నిశాంతరావు టిఆర్ఎస్ మాజీ ఎమ్మెల్సీ సుధాకర్ రావు గారి కుమారుడు. సుధాకర్ రావు ఈయన ఎవరెవరికి బంధువో మీకు అందరూ తెలిసిందే. క్లియర్. ఎస్ఆర్ఎఫ్ ఓసీ 2 ప్రాజెక్ట్ టెండర్ 22/10/2025. పాల్గొన్న వాళ్ళు 12 మంది. పొందిన వాళ్ళు హర్ష కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ ప్రైవేట్ లిమిటెడ్. ఇందులో ఎవరెవరు ఉన్నారో, ఈ హర్ష కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ కంపెనీ పూర్తిగా టీఆర్ఎస్ టైంలో ఎన్ని ఇరిగేషన్ ప్రాజెక్టులు పొందిందో, ఎవరితో చేతులు కలిపి ఉందో, ఎవరితో ఉందో మీ అందరూ తెలిసింది. మరి వీళ్ళల్లో అసలు ఈ 5 కంపెనీలు మీరు ఇది సైట్ విజిట్ కండిషన్ పెట్టి 4 మీరు వచ్చిన తర్వాత పిలిచినటువంటి ఈ ఓబీలు అన్నీ మొత్తం సుజన్ రెడ్డికను కాంగ్రెస్ వాళ్ళు దోచుకొని తిన్నారన్నారు. నేను అడుగుతా ఉన్నాను, రైట్ ఫ్రమ్ సుజన్ రెడ్డి కంపెనీ దగ్గర నుంచి ఈ 4 కంపెనీలు కాంగ్రెస్ వాళ్ళయా ఎవరి? మీకు తెలుసు కదా ఈ పేర్లన్నీ ఎవరు. ఒకవేళ సైట్ విజిట్ కండిషన్ పెట్టి విజిట్ చేసే వాళ్ళకి ఎవరికి సర్టిఫికేట్ ఇవ్వకుండా ఆపి మాకు కావాల్సిన వాళ్ళకి లేకపోతే ఇంకోళ్ళకి కావాల్సిన వాళ్ళకి ఇచ్చి ఉంటే అసలు వీళ్ళందరికీ టెండర్లు వచ్చాయా? అసలు వర్క్లు వచ్చాయా? ఇంత ట్రాన్స్పరెంట్గా చేస్తే కూడా మీరు ఇంకా సింగరేణి పైన ఆ కథనాలు రాస్త్రీ, దాని మీద లేఖ రాస్త్రీ, దీని మీద జనానికి తప్పుడు సమాచారం ఇస్తూ ఉంటారు. ఎవరికి నష్టం చేస్తున్నారు మీరు? సింగరేణికి, తెలంగాణ ప్రజలకు నష్టం చేస్తున్నారు సంగతి మర్చిపోతూ ఉన్నారు. వ్యక్తిగతంగా మన స్కోర్ ఏమైనా సెటిల్ చేసుకోవాలంటే ఎస్, డిప్యూటీ చీఫ్ మినిస్టర్గా నేను, ఓ పత్రికాధిపతిగా రాధాకృష్ణ గారు మనం వ్యక్తిగతంగా స్కోర్ సెటిల్ చేసుకున్నాం. కానీ రాష్ట్ర ప్రజల ఆస్తులపైన ప్రజలకు రావాల్సినటువంటి మీద తప్పుడు ప్రచారం చేయటం కరెక్ట్ కాదు కదా. అట్లాగే ఇంకో విషయం ఏంటి, మేము లేఖ రాస్తాం, దీనిపైన ఎమ్మటే ఎంక్వైరీ చేయాల్సిందే. డీజిల్ థెఫ్ట్ సంబంధించి కూడా నేను ఇస్తాను. డీజిల్ థెఫ్ట్ సంబంధించినప్పుడు అందులో కొద్దిమంది అధికారులు ఉన్నారు, వాళ్ళ మీద విజిలెన్స్ కేసు కూడా ఉంది. ఇప్పుడు వాళ్ళు ఏడ పని చేస్తున్నారో కూడా ఇస్తాను నేను. కొద్ది రోజుల తర్వాత మళ్ళీ అవి కూడా రిలీజ్ చేస్తాను. సరే, పదే సుజన్ రెడ్డి ముఖ్యమంత్రి బామర్ది మొత్తం సింగరేణి అంతా ఆయన దోసుకుంటుండో, భట్టి విక్రమార్క వచ్చి సైట్ కండిషన్ పెట్టి దాన్ని అడ్ చేసి ఇది చేసినంటే అన్నీ చెప్పాను నేను అడుగుతా ఉన్నాను. హరీష్ రావు గారు, మీరు 10 సంవత్సరాలు మంత్రిగా చేశారు, మీరంటే గౌరవం కూడా. సరే, మీరు లేఖ రాసినందుకే వారు కూడా వచ్చారు, ఇవన్నీ ఎగ్జామిన్ చేస్తుంటే ఇవన్నీ బయటకు వస్తూ ఉన్నాయి, చాలా సంతోషం. మీకు ఏం కావాలా? ఏం కావాలి మీకు? వీటి మీద ఎంక్వైరీ కావాలా? రైట్, మీరు వారికి వీరికి ఎందుకు రాస్తారు? నాకు రాయండి, నేను అందుబాటులో ఉన్నా కదా, నాకు రాయండి మీకు ఏం కావాలో. మీరు వారికి లేఖ రాసి తెలంగాణని ఎందుకు ఇబ్బంది పెడతారు? నాకు రాయండి. 2014 నుంచి నేటి వరకు, నేటి 9 ఆ టెండర్ క్లోజ్ దగ్గర వరకు మొత్తం అన్నిటి మీద మీరు ఎంక్వైరీ చేయండి, సిట్ వేయండి, లేకపోతే ఇంకేదైనా ఎంక్వైరీ చేయండి, మీరు చేపించండి. తెలంగాణ ప్రజల ఆస్తులు ఇవి కావాలి అని చెప్పి మీరు నాకు రాయండి. నేనే డిప్యూటీ చీఫ్ మినిస్టర్గా ఈ శాఖని బాధ్యత, ఎనర్జీ శాఖను చూస్తున్న వ్యక్తిగా, మా ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారి వాళ్ళు ఊళ్ళో లేడు, దావోస్లో ఉన్నారు వారు రాగానే వారితో మాట్లాడి వారిని ఒప్పించి మొత్తం 2014 నుంచి ఇప్పటి వరకు జరిగినటువంటి కాంట్రాక్ట్స్, బిడ్స్, సింగరేణిలో జరిగిన ఈ అన్నిటిపైన ఇంక్లూడింగ్ తాడిచెర్ల ఓబీ కాంట్రాక్ట్తో సహా మాకేం అభ్యంతరం లేదు. ఇంక్లూడింగ్ తాడిచెర్ల జరుగుతున్న ఓబీ కాంట్రాక్ట్ ఎండిఓతో సహా వీటన్నిటిపైన నేనే మీరంటే నాకు గౌరవం, మీరు లేఖ రాయటం ఆలస్యం, ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారు రాగానే నేనే ఫస్ట్ అపాయింట్మెంట్ తీసుకొని పోయి వారి దగ్గర కూర్చొని వీటన్నిటి మీద ఎంక్వైరీ చేయాల్సిందే, మీరు చేస్తారా లేదని కూర్చుంటాను, చేపిస్తాను. ఎందుకంటే తెలంగాణ మంది ప్రజలకు వాస్తవాలు తెలియాలి, ఆ ఆస్తుల్ని కాపాడుకోవాలి, దానికోసం మనం ముందుకు పోవాలి. ఏమండి అడ్డగోలుగా నా చేతిలో నేను అధిపతిని, నేను రాస్తే ఏదైనా నడుస్తుంది అని రాస్తానంటే కుదరదండి. నేను చెప్పదలుచుకున్నాను స్పష్టంగా, నేను ఆస్తులు సంపాదించుకోవటానికో వ్యవస్థల మీద పెత్తనం చేయటానికో సామ్రాజ్యాలు నిర్మించుకోవటానికో రాలేదు. నేను ఈ సమాజంలో మార్పు కోసమే రాజకీయాల్లోకి వచ్చాను. ఆ మార్పు చట్టసభల ద్వారా సాధ్యం అవుతుంది కాబట్టే నేను చట్టసభల్లోకి వచ్చాను. నేను చట్టసభల్లోకి వచ్చినప్పటి నుంచి నిబద్ధతతో ఈ రాష్ట్రంలో ఉన్న ఆస్తులు, సంస్థలు, వ్యవస్థలు, వనరులు అన్నీ కూడా ప్రజలకి పంచబట్టడం కోసం కావాల్సిన చర్యలన్నీ తీసుకుంటున్నాను. మా నాయకుడు రాహుల్ గాంధీ గారు సిపెక్ సర్వే చేస్తే ఈ రాష్ట్రంలో మొత్తం తేటతెల్లమవుతుంది, ఎక్స్రే లాగా చేయాల్సిందే, మేము చేస్తాము అధికారంలో రాగానే ఎన్నికల సందర్భంగా చెప్తే ఎస్ ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారు క్యాబినెట్ మొత్తం అంతా నిర్ణయం చేస్తే ప్లానింగ్ శాఖ చూస్తున్న నేను చిన్న పొరపాటు కూడా దేశంలో ఇంతవరకు దేశంలో ఏ రాష్ట్రంలో కూడా జరగలేదు. కాస్ట్ సర్వే చిన్న పొరపాటు కూడా జరగకుండా కాస్ట్ సర్వే చేసి మొత్తం లెక్కలు తేల్చి సభలో పెట్టిన. ఈ రాష్ట్రంలో ఉన్న వనరులన్నీ ఎక్కడున్నాయి, ఎవరికి పంచాలా, ఎట్లా చేయాలి అని పకడ్బందీగా ప్లానింగ్తో ముందు పోదామని ఆలోచన చేస్తాం. ఎందుకు చేస్తున్నాం అంటే మాకు ఒక నిబద్ధత ఉంది, సంకల్పం కూడా ఉంది. రాష్ట్రంలో జరుగుతున్న పరిస్థితులు చూసి తట్టుకోలేకనే ఆనాడు నేను పీపుల్స్ మార్చ్ అని పాదయాత్ర చేసుకుంటూ వస్తూ ఇదే సింగరేణి కాలరీస్లో, బొగ్గు బాయిల్లో, మండు టెండల్లో అక్కడ కూడా నేను పాదయాత్ర చేశాను. అక్కడ కూడా నేను ఎండను కూడా తట్టుకొని నడుచుకుంటూ ఆ బాయిల్లో కూడా వెళ్ళాను. పాపం అక్కడ ఉన్నటువంటి వేలాది మంది కార్మికులు నాతో పాటు అడుగులో అడుగు వేసుకుంటూ నాతో నడిచారు. వారి రక్తం వారి కండలు శ్రమిస్తే ఆ శ్రమతో కారినటువంటి చెమటతో తడిసిన బొగ్గు బావుల్ని ఎట్టి పరిస్థితుల్లో ఏ రాబందుల్ని వాళ్ళనేను, ఏ గద్దల్ని వాళ్ళనేను, ఏ పెద్దల్ని వాళ్ళనేను, ఆ ఆస్తులన్నీ తెలంగాణకి ఉండేటట్టుగా చూస్తాను. అదే నా ముందున్న ఏకైక లక్ష్యం. ఇది నేను భావోద్రేకం నాకున్నటువంటి ఆ సింగరేణి కార్మికుల బాధల్ని ప్రత్యక్షంగా చూసిన తర్వాత ఆ బొగ్గుబాయిలు ఈ తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్రానికి ఎంత అవసరం తెలిసినటువంటి వ్యక్తి వాటిని కాపాడుతూ ముందు తీసుకొని పోతాను తప్ప ఇటువంటి పనులు జరగనేను. కానీ దయచేసి ఒకటే విజ్ఞప్తి చేస్తూ ఉన్నాను. సింగరేణి ఉత్పత్తి చేసేటువంటి బొగ్గు అదనంగా ఉత్పత్తి పెంచుకోవాల్సినటువంటి అవసరం ఉంది. గత 10 సంవత్సరాల్లో కొత్త బొగ్గుబాయిల్ని మనం తెచ్చుకోలే. మీరు ఎందుకు ప్రయత్నం చేయలేదో నాకు తెలియదు, నేను వాటి జోలి పోదలుచుకోలేదు. కానీ ఈరోజు కాంపిటేటివ్ వరల్డ్ పెరిగిపోయింది. భారత ప్రభుత్వం కోల్ బ్లాక్స్ అన్ని ఆక్షన్ చేస్తూ ఉంది. అంతిమంగా అలా మీరు చూస్తూ వదిలేస్తే సింగరేణి కార్మికులు ఏ సింగరేణి మీద ఆధారపడి ఉన్నారో అక్కడ బొగ్గుబాయిలు తగ్గిపోయి, ప్రొడక్షన్ తగ్గిపోయి అంతిమంగా వచ్చే లాభాలు పడిపోయి ఆదాయం తగ్గిపోయి దాని మీద ఆధారపడి ఉన్నటువంటి కుటుంబాలు, వేలాది కుటుంబాలు ఉపాధి లేకుండా కోల్పోయే ప్రమాదం ఉంది. దానితోడు ప్రపంచంలో విద్యుత్ ఉత్పత్తి రంగంలో కూడా మార్పులు వస్తూ ఉన్నాయి. ఆ మార్పులకు అనుగుణంగా అనేక రాష్ట్రాల్లో ఇంక్లూడింగ్ తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్రంలో కూడా గ్రీన్ ఎనర్జీకి వెళ్ళిపోతూ ఉన్నారు. ఆ పోయే ప్రక్రియలో కోల్ వాడకం కూడా తగ్గే ప్రమాదం ఉంది క్వాలిటీ లేకపోతే. క్వాలిటీతో కూడిన కోల్ కావాలని కోరుకుంటున్నారు. అందుకోసమే క్వాలిటీతో ఉన్న కోల్ బొగ్గుబాయిల్ని త్వరితగతిన మనం సొంతం చేసుకోవాలి, వాటిని ఆపరేషన్లో తెచ్చుకొని తద్వారా దీన్ని బతికించుకోవాలి. అందుకోసమే ఇంత ఎక్స్పర్టైజ్ ఉన్నటువంటి కోల్ ఎక్స్పర్టైజ్ ఉన్నటువంటి సింగరేణి కాలేజ్ని కేవలం కోల్కే పరిమితం చేయకుండా మిగతా ప్రాంతాలకు కూడా, మిగతా మినరల్స్లో కూడా విస్తరింప చేయాలనేటువంటి ఆలోచనతో ఈరోజు క్రిటికల్ మినరల్స్ చాలా ఈ దేశానికి అవసరమని భారత ప్రభుత్వం డైరెక్షన్ ఇచ్చి పదే ప్రభుత్వ రంగ సంస్థలు వాటిల్లోకి వెళ్ళమని ఒత్తిడి చేస్తూ ఉంటే సింగరేణి కూడా అందులో పోవటం కోసం ప్రయత్నం చేస్తాం. సింగరేణి మేనేజ్మెంట్ కానీ కార్మికులు కానీ చాలా చిత్తశుద్ధితో పనిచేసుకుంటూ పోతా ఉన్నారు. ఈ ప్రభుత్వం కూడా అంతే కమిట్మెంట్తో పనిచేసుకుంటూ పోతా ఉంది. దయచేసి మీ అవసరాల కోసం, మీ వ్యక్తిగతమైన ప్రయోజనాల కోసం, మీ రాజకీయ లబ్ధి కోసం, ప్రయోజనాల కోసం ఈ రాష్ట్రం పైన, సింగరేణి పైన ఇటువంటి తప్పుడు ప్రచారం, విషం చెమ్మొద్దని మాత్రం విజ్ఞప్తి చేస్తూ ఉన్నాను. ఎస్, మీకు ఏదైనా అనుమానాలు ఉంటే మై డోర్స్ ఆర్ ఆల్వేస్ ఓపెన్ 24 hours. ఎనీ టైమ్ యూ కెన్ కమ్ అండ్ నాక్ ద డోర్. దేన్నైనా ఓపెన్గా, ట్రాన్స్పరెంట్గా నేను చూపించడానికి సిద్ధంగా ఉన్నాను. ఎక్కడ దాపరికాని కూడా ఏం లేదు. ఇప్పటికైనా ఈ వాస్తవాలు గమనించి పెద్దలు రాధాకృష్ణ గారు, ఇప్పటికైనా మీ మీద గౌరవం ఉంది మాకు, ఇప్పటికైనా రాసిన కథనాలన్నీ తప్పుడని వాటిని తిరిగి ప్రపంచానికి, తెలంగాణ ప్రజలు తెలియజేస్తారని నేను ఆశిస్తూ ఉన్నాను. అలా జరగనప్పుడు నా పరువు ప్రతిష్టలకు భంగం కలిగేటట్టుగా 40 ఏళ్లుగా నేను పోగేసుకున్నటువంటి క్యారెక్టర్ అసాసినేషన్ చేశారు మీరు. ఇది తగదండి, మీకు ఇది తగదు. నా ప్రయాణం చాలా సుదీర్ఘమైనటువంటి ప్రయాణం. ఇక్కడ రావటానికి ఒక్క రోజులో వచ్చిన ప్రయాణం కాదు నాది. ఎన్నో కష్ట నష్టాలు కోర్చి, ఎన్నో వ్యయ ప్రయాసాలు కోర్చి, ఎన్నో ఒత్తిళ్లను తట్టుకొని నేను ఎడదాకా వచ్చాను. ఆ వచ్చింది ఒక లక్ష్యం కోసం, ఒక సంకల్పం కోసం. నేను ఇటువంటి చిల్లర పనుల కోసం రాలేదు, చిల్లర కార్యకలాపాల కోసం రాలేదు. నాకు వేరే ఉన్నతమైనటువంటి ఆలోచనలు, భావాలు ఉన్నాయి. వాటిని అమలు చేసుకుంటూ పోవాలి. కాబట్టి నేను మీకు స్పష్టంగా చెప్తా ఉన్నాను, నేను పోగేసుకున్న నా వ్యక్తిత్వాన్ని నువ్వు ఒక్క రోజుతో, ఒక్క కలంతో రాస్తా అంటే నేను చూస్తూ ఊరుకోవటానికి సిద్ధంగా లేదు. దయచేసి ఇప్పటికైనా మీరు, నేను వ్యక్తిగతంగా అడుగుతా ఉన్నాను, ఈ రాష్ట్ర ఉప ముఖ్యమంత్రిగా అడుగుతా ఉన్నాను మిమ్మల్ని, రాసిన దాన్ని పొరపాటని మీరు తిరిగి వాస్తవాలన్నీ ప్రచురిస్తారని ఆశిస్తూ ఉన్నాను. ధన్యవాదాలు. థ్యాంక్ యూ. సో ఇవన్నీ మీకు ఈ సెట్స్ అన్నీ అందరికీ ఇవ్వండి. రాహుల్, సరే, ఇవన్నీ ప్రొసీజరల్ యాక్టివిటీస్. బట్ స్టిల్ అడిగా కాబట్టి నేను నాకు తెలిసింది నేను చెప్తా ఉన్నాను. బట్ ఆ సింగరేణి మేనేజ్మెంట్ మీకు ఆ ప్రొసీజర్ గురించి అంతా చెప్తారు. నేను కూడా కనుక్కున్న నీలాని ఎక్స్ప్రెషన్ అంటే టెక్నికల్ జార్గన్ నాకు తెలియదు. టెండర్ పిలిచిన తర్వాత ఇక్కడ పలానా దానికి టెండర్ పిలుస్తున్నాము, ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఉన్నటువంటి వాళ్ళంతా పరిశీలన చేసి ఏమైనా అభ్యంతరాలు ఉంటే ప్రీ బిడ్ మీటింగ్ అని ఒకటి పెడతారంటే ఆ బిడ్ మీటింగ్కి వచ్చి అందరూ చెప్పమని చెప్తారు. వాళ్ళ అభ్యంతరాలు అన్నీ విన్న తర్వాత మార్పులు చేర్పులతో కోరిజెండం అని రిలీజ్ చేస్తారు. రిలీజ్ చేసిన తర్వాత వీళ్ళు టెండర్స్ని సబ్మిట్ చేయాలి. ఇంకా అసలు కోరిజెండమే రిలీజ్ చేయాలి. టెండర్ సబ్మిట్ చేసే డేటే స్టార్ట్ కాలేదు, ఇంకా అప్పుడే నీకు సైట్ విజిట్ ఎట్లా ఇస్తారు? అసలు అందులో అది ఉంటుందో లేదో కూడా తెలియదు. సైట్ దగ్గర పోతే కోరిజెండం రిలీజ్ చేసిన తర్వాత ఫైనల్గా అప్పుడు ఏ కండిషన్స్ ఉన్నాయో చూసుకొని అప్పుడు ఆ సైట్ దగ్గర పోతారో లేకపోతే ఇంకో దగ్గర పోతారో ఇంకేటి దగ్గర పోతారు. అసలు ఆ ప్రాసెస్ దాకా రాకముందే కదా నా వరి కూడా అదే. ఆ ప్రాసెస్ నువ్వు రైట్ క్వశ్చన్ అడిగావు. ఆడదాకా రాకముందే మీరు ఊహించుకొని అడ్డగోలు కథనాలు రాశారు. థ్యాంక్ యూ. డియర్ ఫ్రెండ్, నేను ఎప్పటిదాకా అన్ని చదివినిపించాను. డియర్ ఫ్రెండ్, నేను అన్ని చదివినిపించాను. అవన్నీ ఈ దేశంలో ఉన్నటువంటి కంపెనీలు, ఈ దేశంలో అంతర్భాగం, ఈ దేశంలో ఉన్న రాష్ట్రాలు, ఈ దేశంలో వారి పాలనలో ఉన్నటువంటి సంస్థలకి కూడా చదివినిపించాను. ఇంకా నేను ఫ్యాక్ట్స్ అన్నీ మీ ముందు పెట్టాను. వాస్తవాలన్నీ మీ ముందు పెట్టాను నేను. అమ్మా వారు నేను అన్నాను లేఖ రాస్తున్నారు కదా, నేను అనుకుంటున్నాను అవన్నీ సక్రమంగానే జరిగినాయని అనుకున్నాను. నేను వాళ్ళు మీకు డౌట్ ఉంటే లేఖ నాకే రాయండి, నేను అందుబాటులో ఉన్నాను, నువ్వు ఎక్కడో ఉన్నాను జరిగింది నాకు రాయి, నేను చేపిస్తా అని చెప్తున్నాను కదా. రైట్ ఫ్రమ్ 2014 to 2020 ఈనాటి వరకు, ఈ రోజు వరకు అన్నిటి మీద చేపించేస్తాను. ఇంకేం కావాలి? వాట్ మోర్ యూ వాంట్? ఓకే, నెక్స్ట్. ఐ థింక్ నేను ఎనఫ్ క్లారిటీ ఇచ్చాను. నేను అన్నిటికీ అన్నాను కదా, ఐ సెడ్ ఎవ్రీథింగ్ అన్నాను కదా, అన్నీ అన్నాను కదా, ఐ సెడ్ ఎవ్రీథింగ్.
మీడియా మిత్రులందరికీ నమస్కారం. నిన్న కేటీఆర్ గారు సిట్ అంటే టెలిఫోన్ ట్యాపింగ్ సంబంధించిన అంశానికి సంబంధించి నోటీస్ ఇచ్చి పిలిచిన సందర్భంలో ఆ విచారణంతరం బయటకు వచ్చిన తర్వాత కేటీఆర్ గారు రకరకాల ఆవేదన, బాధన రకరకాల వ్యక్తం చేయడం జరిగింది. అసలు ఈ ఫోన్ ట్యాపింగ్ అనే అంశం ఎందుకు వచ్చింది, ఎప్పటి నుంచి వచ్చింది? నేను కూడా గడచిన 25 సంవత్సరాల నుంచి రాజకీయాలు ఉన్నా. 99 నుంచి కాంగ్రెస్ పార్టీ ముఖ్యమంత్రి చూసిన, అట్లాగే తెలుగుదేశం పార్టీ ముఖ్యమంత్రి చూసిన, చంద్రబాబు నాయుడు గారు చూసినాం. ఎప్పుడూ లేనటువంటి అంశం తెలంగాణ వచ్చిన తర్వాత, ఇంతమంది త్యాగాల తర్వాత వచ్చిన తర్వాత బీఆర్ఎస్ ప్రభుత్వంలో కేసీఆర్ నాయకత్వంలో కేసీఆర్ ముఖ్యమంత్రిగా ఉన్న సందర్భంలోనే ఈ చర్చ మొదలైంది. ఈవెన్ కాంగ్రెస్ పార్టీ 2023లో అధికారులు రాకముందుకే ఈ ఫోన్ ట్యాపింగ్ చర్చ జరిగింది. నేను చెప్పడం కాదు, బీఆర్ఎస్ పార్టీలో ఉన్నటువంటి ఆనాడు ప్రకాష్ గారు హరీష్ రావుతో మాట్లాడిన సందర్భంలో హరీష్ రావు గారు అన్న ఫోన్లో మాట్లాడకే ఫోన్ ట్యాపింగ్ చెప్పని మాట్లాడింది రికార్డెడ్ ఉంది. ప్రకాష్ గారు మాట్లాడి ఉంది. అట్లాగే బీఎస్పీ నాయకుడు ప్రవీణ్ కుమార్ గారు ఇప్పుడు బీఆర్ఎస్ పార్టీ ఉన్నారు. వారు కూడా బీఎస్పీలో ఉన్నప్పుడు బీఆర్ఎస్ చేరకముందు ఈ యొక్క ఫోన్ ట్యాపింగ్ అంశం గురించి ఆనాటి నాయకత్వాన్ని కూడా విమర్శించడం జరిగింది. అట్లాగే ఒక ఐఏఎస్ అధికారి ఆకునూరి మురళి గారు కూడా ఈ ఫోన్ ట్యాపింగ్ అంశానికి సంబంధించి కాంగ్రెస్ ప్రభుత్వం రాకముందుకే ప్రస్తావించడం జరిగింది. అట్లాగే ప్రొఫెసర్ నాగేశ్వరరావు గారు కూడా ఇవి ఎందుకు చేస్తారు ఫోన్ ట్యాపింగ్స్ అనేది, రకరకాల లబ్ధుల కోసమో, బ్లాక్మెయిలింగ్ కోసమో, ఇబ్బంది పెట్టడం కోసం అనే కింద వారు మాట్లాడడం జరిగింది. అట్లాగే బూర నర్సయ్య గారు మాట్లాడినరు, ఇటు రాజేంద్ర గారు మాట్లాడినరు. అట్లా మన గవర్నర్, ఆనాటి గవర్నర్ తమిళసై అంతేనా, వారు కూడా నా ఫోన్ అంటే అంటే నా ఫోన్ కూడా ట్యాపింగ్ అవుతుందనేది వారు కూడా మాట్లాడినారు. అది రికార్డెడ్ వీడియో కూడా ఉన్నది. అయితే వాళ్ళు మాట్లాడే వేరు. కేటీఆర్ కూడా ఏమన్నాడు, ఇది చేస్తే చేసి ఉండొచ్చు, బచ్చగాళ్ళు లుచ్చగాళ్ళు ఎవరో ఒకరికో ఇద్దరు చేసి ఒకరితో ఇద్దరితో చేస్తే చేసి ఉండొచ్చు అన్నారు. అంటే కేటీఆరే ఒప్పుకున్నట్టే కదా ఫోన్ ట్యాపింగ్ జరిగిందని. ఎవరు చేయించు ఎందుకు చేయించిన అవసరం పడితే నోటికి ఆ మాట వచ్చిందంటే, అంటే అసలు తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్రం వచ్చింది, తెచ్చుకున్నది, ప్రజా సమస్యల పరిష్కారం కావాలి, జాతీయ స్థాయిలో అన్ని వర్గాల ప్రజల పేదల యొక్క వాళ్ళ యొక్క కొనుగోలు శక్తి పెరగాలి, వాళ్ళు పర్ క్యాపిటల్ ఇన్కమ్ పెరగాలి, సమస్యల పరిష్కారం కావాలి, ఎటువంటి అరాచకాలు దుర్మార్గం లేకుండా పూర్తి ప్రజాస్వామ్యబద్ధంగా ఉండాలని చెప్పనే కోరుకుంటే ఏం కర్మ ఎందుకు వచ్చింది ఇది? రెండవది, అసలు మీకు ఇచ్చిన నోటీస్ ఏంది? సెక్షన్ 160 సిఆర్పిసి. మిమ్మల్ని నేరస్తులుగా పరిగణించలే, మిమ్మల్ని సాక్షులుగా. ఇది వాస్తవమేనా, మీరు అంటే ఎందుకు జరిగింది, ఎవరి ద్వారా జరిగింది, దీనిపైన మీ యొక్క అంటే వాళ్ళ యొక్క సమాచారాన్ని, కీలక అంశాలని, వాస్తవాలని తెలుసుకోవడం కోసం నోటీస్ ఇచ్చి పిలిచారు. సో ఇది చట్టం అనేది ఎవరికి చుట్టం అనేది కాదు. దీనిలో తప్పేముంది? మిమ్మల్ని అంటే సమాచారం కోరడితేనే మిమ్మల్ని ఏదో కేసులు పెట్టి మిమ్మల్ని అరెస్ట్ చేస్తున్నట్టుగా, ఇంకోటి చేస్తున్నట్టుగా అనేటువంటి కార్యక్రమాలు జరగలే కదా. ఈ సందర్భంగా గతంలో తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్ర ఉద్యమంలో కేసీఆర్తో పాటుగా కీలక పాత్ర పోషించినటువంటి ఆనాడు కోదండరాం గారిని మధ్యరాత్రి ఇంటి మీద దాడి చేసి అరెస్ట్ చేసే కార్యక్రమం చేసిండ్రు. మరి ప్రభుత్వం వచ్చి 2 సంవత్సరాలు అయింది. ఇన్ని రకాల అసలు నేను కూడా కొద్ది దగ్గరికి వెళ్ళి చూసిన కదా, ఇన్ని రకాల ఉన్నా కూడా అటువంటి పనులు ఏం చేయలే కదా. అంటే రాజ్యాంగబద్ధంగా చట్ట ప్రకారము అంశం వచ్చినప్పుడు దానిపైన విచారణ చేయడానికి నోటీస్ పిలుస్తారు, సాక్షులు పిలుస్తారు. మరి నిజంగానే ఒకవేళ ఈ ఫోన్ ట్యాపింగ్ అంశం జరగలేదని మీరు అంటా ఉన్నారో, జరగకపోతే ఎందుకని మరి ఇంటెలిజెన్స్ ఉన్నటువంటి ఆ ప్రభాకర్ రావు గారు సుమారుగా సుమారు 1.5-2 సంవత్సరాల పాటు మరి అందుబాటులో లేకుండా ఇతర దేశాల్లో ఉన్నారు. సుప్రీంకోర్టు ఆర్డర్ వచ్చిన తర్వాతనే రావడం జరిగింది. ఇప్పుడు ఏది లేకపోతే, అసలు ఫోన్ ట్యాపింగ్ అనే అంశమే అనేది లేకపోతే ఇటువంటి కోర్టులకు పోయి కోర్టు ద్వారా ఆర్డర్ తీసుకొచ్చి రప్పిస్తేనే వచ్చేటువంటి కార్యక్రమం జరిగినాయి కదా. అంటే ఖచ్చితంగా ఈ యొక్క ఫోన్ ట్యాపింగ్ అనేది దుర్మార్గంగా, ఫోన్ ట్యాపింగ్ అనేది ప్రజలకు సంబంధించినటువంటి, అంటే వాళ్ళకి సంబంధించినటువంటి స్వేచ్ఛ, వాళ్ళకి సంబంధించినటువంటి పర్సనల్, అంటే వాళ్ళను పూర్తిగా అంటే ఎవరు ఏది మాట్లాడుకున్నా, వ్యక్తిగత విషయాలు మాట్లాడుకున్నా, వ్యాపార విషయాలు మాట్లాడుకున్నా, రాజకీయ విషయాలు మాట్లాడుకున్నా, మరి ఇంట్లోకి తొంగి చూసినట్టేనా కాదా? ఎందుకంటే ఇంత దుర్మార్గంగా మీరు మాట్లాడే కార్యక్రమం చేసి ఇవాళ మీరు నిందితులని అనలే, మిమ్మల్ని సాక్షులుగా పరిగణించి పిలవడం జరిగింది. మరి అటువంటిది భయపడాల్సిన అవసరం వచ్చింది. భయం ఎందుకు? భయపడాల్సిన అవసరం ఎందుకు? మీరు మరి ఇటువంటి కార్యక్రమాలు చేసుకుంటూ ఒకదానికి పొంతన లేకుండా ఈ ప్రభుత్వం ఏదో రేవంత్ రెడ్డి గారి ప్రభుత్వము, కాంగ్రెస్ ప్రభుత్వం రాజకీయ కక్ష చేస్తుందని మాట్లాడుతూ ఉన్నారు. నిజంగానే రాజకీయ కక్ష చేసేది ఉంటే మిమ్మల్ని ఈ సెక్షన్ కాకుండా ఇంకో అంటే 41A కింద ఇచ్చి పోలీసులు అరెస్ట్ చేసే అవకాశం ఉంది. మిమ్మల్ని ఇబ్బంది పెట్టి నిజంగానే రాజకీయ కక్ష చేయాలంటే, అంటే పూర్తి చట్టం ప్రకారం ప్రజాస్వామ్య పద్ధతి ప్రకారం చేస్తూ ఉంటే మీరు దుర్మార్గంగా మాట్లాడుతూ మళ్ళీ ఉల్టా చోర్ కొత్వాలు కూడా అంటేనట్టుగా మీరు మాట్లాడుతూ ఉన్నారు. ఇందులో ఎవరు పాత్రదారులు, ఎవరు సూత్రధారులు తెలియాల్సిన అవసరం తెలుసుకోవడం కోసం చేసే కార్యక్రమం. ఇంత జరిగిన తర్వాత కూడా ప్రభుత్వానికి పట్టనట్టుగా ఏమి జరగకుండా ఉంటే మళ్ళీ ఎవరు చేయాలి? ఇటువంటివి పునరావృతం కాకుండా ఉండాలంటే తప్పు ఎవరు చేసినా వాళ్ళకి శిక్ష పడాలనే కదా. రాజకీయంగా అంటే ఎవరు కూడా అతిథులు కాదు, చట్టానికి అతిథులు కాదు, ఎంతటి వాళ్ళైనా. అరే ఇంత గొప్పగా తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్రాన్ని తెచ్చుకొని పరిపాలన చేయాల్సిన పద్ధతులు చేయకుండా అప్రజాస్వామికంగా చేస్తూ మళ్ళీ తగుదనమ్మా అంటూ దీన్ని దిగజాడుతనమంటారు. ఈ స్థాయికి ఇంత నీచమైనటువంటి పని మనం ఇప్పుడు ఏదైతే చూస్తూ ఉంటాం. ఆ కాలేజీలో స్కూల్లో వాడు ఇట్లా చేసిన వీడు అట్లా చేసిన కింద మరి వాళ్ళకి మీకు భేదం ఉన్నట్టు ఎందుకు ఇటువంటి దుర్మార్గాన్ని ఒడిగట్టేందుకు కార్యక్రమం చేయడం జరిగింది? మొన్న కేటీఆర్ మాట్లాడిండు, నిన్న హరీష్ రావు మాట్లాడిండు. అట్లాగే దీనికి సంబంధించి ఈ రోజున ప్రజాధనంతో నడిచేటువంటి విజిలెన్స్ డిపార్ట్మెంట్ అంటే ఎవరి పాత్ర వాళ్ళు సక్రమంగా నిర్వహించకుండా మీరు ఆ సంస్థలపైన దాడి చేసే కార్యక్రమం చేస్తూ మీ సొంత అవసరాలు వాడుకుంటూ ఇష్టారాజ్యంగా ప్రవర్తించే కార్యక్రమం చేస్తే అంటే ప్రభుత్వం ఇంకేం పట్టకుండా ఉన్నట్టుగా చూసుకుంటూ కూర్చోవాలా? ఈరోజున మీరేదో కరెక్ట్గా పరిపాలన చేసినట్టుగా, ఈ ప్రభుత్వమే తప్పు చేసినట్టుగా, అంటే మీరు ఎన్ని చేసినా ఏం చేసినా, ఎన్ని అవినీతి పనులు చేసినా, ఎన్ని అప్రజాస్వామిక వ్యవహారాలు చేసినా, ఫోన్ ట్యాపింగ్ చేసినా రకరకాలు ఉన్నాయి. అంటే మీరు ఏం చేసినా ప్రభుత్వం నిమ్మకు నీరెత్తినట్టుగా కూర్చోవాలా? ఎంక్వైరీ చేయొద్దా? దోషులను తేల్చొద్దా? డిపార్ట్మెంట్ పని ఎంక్వైరీకి ఆదేశించిండ్రు. సో దీనికేదో ఈ ప్రభుత్వం తప్పు చేసినట్టుగా, రాజకీయ కక్ష చేసినట్టుగా, ఏదో పార్టీల పైన వేటాడుతున్నట్టుగా మాట్లాడుతున్నారు. కాబట్టి మీరు నిజంగానే ఏ సంబంధం లేకపోతే నిర్దోషులైతే భయపడాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు. డెఫినెట్గా ఈ ఫోన్ ట్యాపింగ్ అంశమైనా ఏ అంశమైనా ఖచ్చితంగా ఎంక్వైరీ జరగాల్సిందే, విచారణ జరగాల్సిందే, బాధ్యులపైన చర్యలు తీసుకోవాల్సిందే. ఇటువంటి సంఘటనలు పునరావృతం కావద్దు. ఏ ప్రభుత్వాలు వచ్చినా ఎవరు వచ్చినా కూడా ప్రజాస్వామ్యాన్ని కూడి చేసే కార్యక్రమం చేసుకుంటూ ఈ రోజున మీరు రకరకాల అక్రమాలు చేస్తూ మళ్ళీ తగుదనమనుకుంటూ మీరే మళ్ళీ దుర్మార్గంగా ఉల్టా చోర్ కోతోడు అంటున్నట్టుగా మీరు మాట్లాడుతూ ఉంటే ఇది సరిపడదు. ఇన్ని సంవత్సరాలు మీరు మంత్రులుగా ఉండి ఈ స్థాయికి దిగజారే కార్యక్రమం అనేది చెల్లుబాటు కాదు. ఈ యొక్క విచారణ పూర్తి కావాల్సిందే, వాస్తవాలు తేలాలి. మిమ్మల్ని ఒక్కనే పిలువలే కదా, బీఆర్ఎస్ వాళ్ళని పిలిచిండ్రు, బీజేపీ వాళ్ళని పిలిచిండ్రు, కాంగ్రెస్ పిలిచిండ్రు, ఇంకెవరైనా పిలుస్తారు. అందరినీ పిలవాల్సిందే. ఈ యొక్క సిట్టు ఎంక్వైరీ పూర్తి కావాల్సిందే. ఎవరైనా దీనికి బాధ్యులు ఎవరో ఆ బాధ్యులపైన చట్టపరంగా చర్యలు తీసుకోవాల్సిందే. ఖచ్చితంగా ఇది ఒకటే కాదు, ఇంతకుముందు మా డిప్యూటీ సీఎం గారు చెప్పినట్టుగా చాలా అంశాలు ఉన్నాయి. ఈనాడు రాష్ట్రం యొక్క పరిస్థితి ఇంత అధోగతి ఎందుకయింది? ఎన్ని అవినీతి కార్యక్రమాలు జరగలేదు, ఎన్ని కబ్జాలు జరగలేదు, ఫోన్ ట్యాపింగ్లు రకరకాలు ఉన్నాయి. అన్నింటిపైన కూడా చర్యలు తీసుకోవాల్సిందే. అది ఎవరైనా సరే, పార్టీలకు అతీతంగా తప్పులు ఎవరు చేసినా ఎక్కడ చేసినా 100% శిక్ష పడాల్సిందే. ప్రభుత్వం ఇంకా కఠినంగా వ్యవహరించాలి, నిర్ణయాలు తీసుకోవాలి. ఏ పార్టీ వాళ్ళైనా, సొంత పార్టీ వాళ్ళైనా, ఎవరైనా సరే తప్పులు ఎవరు చేసినా శిక్ష పడాల్సిందే. కాబట్టి మీరు ప్రజల్ని పక్కదో పట్టించడం కోసం రాజకీయంలో మొన్న ఎట్లయితే సర్పంచ్ ఎన్నికల ముందు కేసీఆర్ మాట్లాడిండో, రాజకీయంగా పతనమవుతుంది కాబట్టి బీఆర్ఎస్ పార్టీ కాపాడుకోవడం కోసం, దిగజారిపోయిన పరిస్థితిని కాపాడుకోవడం కోసం ఆ మాటలు మళ్ళీ ఇప్పుడు ఈ మున్సిపల్ ఎన్నికలు వస్తూ ఉన్నాయి. రాజకీయ లబ్ధి కోసం మీరు మాట్లాడుతుంది తప్ప 100% మీరు ఏ స్థాయిలో ఉద్యమం జరిగిందో, ఏ స్థాయిలో త్యాగాల ద్వారా, ముఖ్యంగా యువత త్యాగాల ద్వారా వచ్చిన తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్రాన్ని పూర్తికి విరుద్ధంగా, పవిత్రతకు విరుద్ధంగా పరిపాలన సాగించి, అప్రజాస్వామిక పరిపాలన చేసి, అవినీతి పరిపాలన చేసి, కుటుంబ పరిపాలన చేసి, రాష్ట్రాన్ని చిన్నాభిన్నం చేసి, ఆర్థికంగా కోలుకోలేని పద్ధతిలో దివాలా దించే కార్యక్రమం చేసి మళ్ళీ ఈరోజు మీరు మాట్లాడుతున్నంటే ప్రజలు మిమ్మల్ని ఎప్పటికి కూడా విశ్వసించారని చెప్పని ఇప్పటికైనా ఇటువంటి మాటలు మానుకోవాలని చెప్పని కేటీఆర్ అయినా హరీష్ రావు అయినా ఇంకెవరైనా వాళ్ళకు హితవు పలుకుతా ఉన్నాం. తప్పు చేస్తే ఒప్పుకోవాలి, విచారణకు భయపడమన్నారు, దానికి పరిమితమే మాట్లాడాలి. ఓదాన్ని కూడా జోడించే కార్యక్రమం చేస్తూ ఉన్నారు. కాబట్టి మరొకసారి వాళ్ళకు హితవు చెప్తా ఉన్నాను. థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్.
See, I just wanted to make it very clear. కొరియండం అయిపోయిన తర్వాత వాళ్ళు అప్లోడ్ చేసిన తర్వాతనే సమ్వేర్ అరౌండ్ 21st 22nd నుంచో ఇంట్రెస్టెడ్ పార్టీస్ వాళ్ళు బిడ్స్ సబ్మిట్ చేసేది ఉంటుంది. కొరియండమే ఇవ్వలేదు, అది 20th 21st ఇచ్చేవాళ్ళు, లేకపోతే వీరు 17వ తారీఖే రాశారు. అంటే దానికి డేటు మీ బిడ్స్ సబ్మిట్ చేయండి అని చెప్పే డేట్ స్టార్ట్ కాకముందే వారు ఊహించుకొని కథనాలన్నీ రాశారు. 17వ తారీఖు మొదలుపెట్టారు, 17 ఏమో టీవీలో వచ్చేటట్టు, 18 ఏమో పేపర్లో వచ్చేటట్టు. సో ఎట్లా మీరు కోరిసెంట్ వెళ్ళేది కాబట్టి అసలు అన్నీ క్యాన్సిల్ చేయండి, go for a fresh tender అని చెప్పాను. So now the tender is not there. That's what I'm saying. We are very clear. అదే కదా వీరు 17 ఒక్క బిడ్డింగ్ మళ్ళీ ఒకసారి నేను మీకు ఇందాక చెప్పాను, ఇప్పుడు కూడా చెప్పాను. కొరిజెండం ఇచ్చిన తర్వాత 15 days టైం ఉంటుంది. ఆ కొరిజెండం ఇచ్చిన తర్వాత అసలు అందులో ఈ కండిషన్ ఉంటుందా లేదా, ఇంకేదైనా కండిషన్ ఉంటుందా, ఇంకేదైనా ఉంటుందో తెలియదు. నువ్వు ముందే పోయి సర్టిఫికేట్ అంటే అసలు నీ టెండర్లో అది ఉంటుందో కూడా లేదో కూడా తెలియదు కదా. కాలేదని అదే కదా చెప్పేది. నీకు అవగాహన లేకుండా రాసినానికి అవగాహన లేదు, ఇంకో వాళ్ళకి అవగాహన లేదు. నేను అదే ఆ డేట్స్ అదే కదా చెప్పేది. ఒకటి ఇంకో ఆయన అడుగుతా ఎందుకు మరి మీరు ఇట్లా రాస్తున్నారు. నేను ఒకటే చెప్తా ఉన్నాను, ఇటువంటి ఇవన్నీ తెలంగాణ ఆస్తులు. ఈ ఆస్తుల మీద చాలామంది గద్దలు చూపేసుకున్నారు. వాటిని ఎక్కడికి నేను దగ్గర రానియట్లేదు, కట్టడి చేస్తూ ఉన్నాను. కట్టడి చేస్తా, నా దగ్గర కాదు, బయట నా దగ్గర రానియను కూడా. నేను అలా ప్రయత్నాలు చేసేటువంటి వాళ్ళకి నేను చేసే ట్రాన్స్పరెంట్ విధానంతో ఇబ్బందిగా ఉన్నట్టుంది. అందుకోసమే రకరకాల కథనాలతో బయటకు వచ్చేసి ఏదో చేసుకున్నాము. సో నో వే, అందుకోసమే వారిని వెల్కమ్ చేసింది. మీరు ఎగ్జామిన్ చేయండి ఇవన్నీ. సార్ ఇక్కడ లాజికల్గా లీగల్గా విచారం చేసే అధికారం ఉందా లేదా అనేది తర్వాత అంశం. కానీ ఒక అంశము నివృత్తి కావటానికి వారు ఒక నిర్ణయం తీసుకొని వస్తున్నారు కాబట్టి ఎస్, ఇట్స్ ఎ గుడ్ గెస్చర్. మేము కూడా వెల్కమ్ చేస్తున్నాం, చేయండి, ఇది ప్రజలకు తెలియాలని అన్నాను. ఇంకో సందర్భంలో అయితే వేరే రకంగా మాట్లాడేవాడిని. థ్యాంక్ యూ.
Like Google. Don't be one of them. Watch this instead.
So, this is how I became the most dangerous person in the room. One habit changed everything. I replaced social media with microlearning. Now, instead of wasting time on social media, I spend 15 minutes a day actually learning how to use AI for writing, planning, brainstorming, the real work. That's it, just one skill a day. This is the 28-day AI challenge built for beginners over 40. Starts tomorrow. Tap the screen to join us and try the one habit that really makes you unstoppable.
Priya added a hotel to her flight just because it had a floating breakfast. Expedia, made to travel.
Hello and welcome to this special CNBC TV 18 Davos Dialogue, Davos Debate. I'm Shireen Bhan and we're coming to you from the Andhra Pradesh Pavilion at the Belvedere Hotel. This has of course been home to Andhra Pradesh as it showcases its story to the world here in Davos. Leading the conversation has been Nara Lokesh, the Minister for IT, and of course he holds many other portfolios, but if I go down that road, we'll take up a lot of time of the panel. So without further ado, let's talk about what the state is attempting to do. It has, of course, solidified its purpose as far as ease of doing business is concerned, but it now wants to transition to speed of doing business. What does that mean, and what measures are we going to see the state government take to ensure it delivers on that promise? I also have with me an eminent set of panelists who will talk to me about their aspirations and their investment plans for the state as well as for India. So without further ado, in our last conversation, Mr. Lokesh, you talked about the fact that There's a WhatsApp group that you might even set up to get investors to talk to you directly in terms of speeding things up. So have they been on the WhatsApp group already?
I think two of the panelists have my number and they're in touch with me directly.
So it's government on WhatsApp and governance by WhatsApp?
Well, it's about rewriting the speed at which India can actually deliver and showing the way to the world. I think India is one of those rare countries where we are able to deliver on speed, which other parts of the world are unable to do. And I believe this is just the beginning. The beauty of our great nation is that if one state starts it, rest will follow it. And I think that's going to put a lot more challenge on us and Andhra Pradesh, and to start breaking records every time we take up a new project.
But explain to me the difference, because when one talks about the ease of doing business, one would imagine that the speed of doing business is implicit in that. How will things change now as you move and pivot to the ease of doing business?
So it's actually a very good point, right? Ease of doing business is about getting your permissions, making the entire process a lot more easy. I've started challenging my team on the service level agreements that we have on it. So for example, one of the partner who's here had an environmental clearance to be issued, but the SLA says it's 3 weeks. We got it done in 4 hours. So I believe that this is what we have to challenge every regulation that's out there, look at every SLA and truly deliver on the speed of doing business.
Okay, so how do you go from 3 weeks to 4 hours?
One WhatsApp message from me. So I got to hear we work on strict timelines with all investors in Andhra Pradesh. We monitor the projects on a weekly basis. So if a project is getting delayed, we try and understand what's the issue, and any feedback is taken positively. Even criticism is welcome, so we take it positively and we work on it. And that's how we were able to get this done in 4 hours.
But, jokes aside, how do you institutionalize the speed of doing business at scale? Because not everybody can be on WhatsApp with you, or not every decision can be taken on WhatsApp by you. So how do you institutionalize speed at scale?
I think it requires a fundamental cultural shift across, in politics, in the bureaucracy. So we are doing that. So we, from our chief minister up to, your VRO, we are all talking about on speed of doing business. So not the SMEs, all of them cannot reach out to me or be in touch with me. But we want to create an environment, a culture to deliver on that. That's one part. Second is the regulatory framework. So we have now formed a group which is being advised by self-made billionaires who are giving me input on which regulation, how do we go about it, how do we streamline it, and how can we truncate the time it takes for each of this, permissions and so on and so forth. And what are the permissions that we don't even need? Why does, for example, an IT company really need a pollution control board clearance, for crying out loud? So we're going to now look at each and every regulatory framework that's there in the state, and we're going to challenge the entire team, the bureaucracy, to come back and tell us why should it even be there.
So deregulation, essentially.
Yes.
A big move on that.
Big move on that.
Sanjay, let me come to you, because your investment into the state of Andhra Pradesh made headlines with that big $15 billion announcement. How long did it take for you to make that decision, A, to go to Andhra Pradesh, and B, to get things done in Andhra Pradesh?
Yeah, I think before I answer that, let me just start by saying I'm really delighted to be here on this panel, and good to see you again, Shireen. I think first I would start and say that we have been deeply committed to India as Google. I think we started more than 20 years back. And the memory that I carry of that is that 20 years back, internet penetration for women was so low.
Yeah.
And Google did a project called Internet Sati with Tata Trust. Today, the penetration of internet for women in India is almost parity. So I feel proud that we've been committed in a deep manner. And that comes to this $15 billion investment. We have committed even more deeply to this. And I think fundamentally, it's 1 gigawatt plus capacity, subsea cables, the biggest project they're doing outside America for the first time. And I must say, I met the Honorable Chief Minister and respected Minister in mid-24. It was a conversation where he laid out, the Honorable Chief Minister laid out the vision, and by mid-25 it was done. It is one of the fastest projects we have done as Google in this region. And I really feel proud it's coming from India and coming from Andhra Pradesh. And I'll build on what Lokesh, you were saying on, I think, 3 themes which I think stand out for me. One is the idea of the way the Honorable Chief Minister defined what we're trying to do is good for Andhra Pradesh, good for India, good for Google. which means it's a partnership. It's not a contract manufacturing. It's a big shift in the mindset, how we approach it. Second, I think, is very data-led decision-making, which is transparency. You know exactly what's happening. And third thing in my mind, which is what you just said, speed. This speed of moving things is the fastest I've seen. So I really acknowledge that and thank you and delighted to not only do this, but even do more as we move in the future.
Well, speaking of doing more, you preempted my question, Sanjay, because as India sort of takes the next steps as far as its AI journey is concerned, data center capacity in India much lower than the US or even China. What do you believe it will take for the AI infrastructure build out to be a reality in India, and companies like yours? I mean, how much more appetite do you have for India?
I think the reality is we have more than 1 billion Indians. The power of AI today is that the language barrier is gone. So far, the use of technology was limited by, if you knew English language well, you could use technology. But hardly 200 million people understand and speak English. So I see India moving from 200 million people deeply using technology to almost 1.4 billion people using technology. Because there is no barrier of language, there is no barrier of literacy. You can speak, text, video, whatever format that you want to engage in. So it's going to be a dramatic increase. And what excites me, therefore, is that what we have built here will need to keep evaluating how fast to build more. And I feel from my point of view, India is really best suited to take the next leap as AI comes in, because we are really good in applying the models and technology for both the benefit of society and customers.
Okay, I'll come back and double down on that in just a second. But Jatin, let me come to you now. It's not just ease of doing business and speed of doing business, but it's also the cost of doing business. And that is something that the state has been focusing on, specifically for the IT sector. Land at 1 rupee, that also created headlines. But I want you to explain to us why that is important and why companies like yours are looking at the state.
Sure. So, a few things, apart from the speed and ease, I think certainty and trust also matter. And certainty and trust comes from your ability to access the entire infrastructure of the state transparently, as Sanjay was mentioning. And you have comfort that when you have a fair cause, you will see a fair response. And I think that's a big comfort, that you throw a ball and then it will bounce back. It's not going to get lost. It's not going to get muddled in some other controversy, etc. We believe that we are at a cusp of rebirth of IT services industry. I think AI in our lifetime, I as a professional and many others like me, I think this is the second industrial revolution that the IT services industry is seeing in one generation, right? I started when Y2K started, and I now have AI, which is, in my view, another 25 years of journey for IT services, plus operations, plus intellectual work, everything that India can produce and deliver to the world. So we will no longer be the services hub. I think we will be the intellectual hub for the world. And to do that, you will have to now look at where you want to be next 25 years. And when we started thinking about it, I mean, Vizag came on the top of every consideration we had. We had our own checklist of things, of excess of talent. I mean, we have incredible excess of Vizag talent in rest of the southern belt of India. And if so, why not Vizag to start with? And that's where we invested. So I think, and we got very, very warm and comprehensive response from Honorable Minister, Honorable Chief Minister, and therefore we went ahead. So we feel very energized now, and Vizag is one step as we are taking. I would say one thing: we have a 6 months plan on how we are going to grow in the state. So which tells you something how ambitious we are.
Well, I just want to bring up the point that you made about the fact that the next 25 years will see a transformation of the Indian IT services sector. And this has been a sector that's been a huge generator as far as export earnings are concerned. It's also been a big employer, transition to more AI-led. What is the expectation that the private sector has from industry, especially when we talk about talent? I mean, that is the single biggest competitive advantage that people talk of when they talk of India. How do we ensure that we are talent ready for this AI world, and what is the industry private sector collaboration on that front that's needed?
So I think the core of talent and intellectual capital is India's demographic dividend, right? I mean, that's the core. Now, what you do as an industry like us is you work with education ministry, you work with colleges. We work with another roughly 120 colleges where we influence the syllabus in last 2 years of this. We have initiative like Synapse, which has nothing to do with Cognizant. We just want to impart right technology knowledge, which is market facing today, not yesterday's market facing. And we have done 1 million coverage in that in last 3 years. And we have now taken an ambitious goal to get to 2 million of such training. So, so it is a great opportunity. I think I always say that there is a valley of skepticism before there is a climb of hope. And in AI, we are a little bit in that space before we see the climb of hope. We certainly see it from our vantage point, how thousands of things today India doesn't do, India would be able to do from services standpoint with help of AI. And Sanjay alluded some of that too. So we are very excited, and I think our population and our young engineers are getting ready for it.
Wait, Suketa, that's a good point for me to get to you, because in Jatin's words, this valley of skepticism before we get to hope, that's also the perception when we talk about manufacturing and large-scale transitioning to manufacturing, because people believe that that's already a space that China has occupied. There's a whole bunch of other countries that have taken what has moved out of China, and India is, of course, one of them. How do we build on that story? What do states like Andhra Pradesh need to do to continue to draw in investments from the rejigging of supply chains that's going on, from the resilience point of view as far as supply chains as well?
That's a great question, and I'll start with resilience is table stakes. It is not an option anymore. And speed is the last strategic advantage left for firms. So in a few months, there'll be a book from HBR that I'm working through, and we call it Intelligent Speed at Scale. And there is a simple formula, and India is a math-driven country, so I'll give you the formula. It is the speed of insight multiplied by the speed of decision multiplied by the speed of action. Now, the reason it is multiplied is because if one of them is zero, the value is zero. And companies have been working through that. And what we found is countries and companies that follow this have a disproportionate market value. Now, as you think about industrial manufacturing, the big question is operational sovereignty. If I do something, and right before we came out here, had a nice conversation that said, do I own my data or does it live somewhere else? It can be a big challenge. The second piece is technology is core part of manufacturing. And if my processes cannot be designed in one place and used all over the world, I run into issues. And I'll give you an example. A client of ours has a facility in China, 400 million of revenue created. They have 210 people, 10 people on the line, 200 running AI. The same factory at a different Northern Hemisphere location has 1,000 people, 10 people are writing reports, and the other 990 are on the line. What we want to be, if India is going to drive this, is on the 210 side, not on the 1,000 side. And that is the structural difference, both on the speed side as well as taking advantage.
Well, that's an important point that you make, and how do we prepare to make that transition and be ready for that is the question. Sumant, let's address the energy question as well. And the state of Andhra Pradesh is also trying to address that question through renewable means. But, as we aspire for this 8% growth, as we aspire to become a $10 trillion economy, we will, of course, get to a $4 trillion economy shortly. How we need to think differently in terms of our energy mix as well, and what the imperatives are for states like Andhra Pradesh.
Yeah, thank you, Shireen. Let me first comment a little bit about my own or our company's experience in Andhra Pradesh. We had not a very good time a few years ago. But I think when the current Chief Minister came in along with Lokesh, things just changed totally for us. The kind of responsiveness, the kind of welcome that they sort of gave us was so remarkably different from what we had been experiencing until that point in time, that it sort of totally changed our minds about the state, even though going into it we were quite skeptical because of our prior experience. And there were 2-3 things that happened, which I think goes to the way in which the current dispensation operates. One is that they came to us and they said, why don't you make Andhra Pradesh your home state? Right now we are based in Delhi. You don't have a lot of renewable energy capacity in Delhi or Haryana, obviously, right? So that can't be our home state. And that thought really appealed to me. It really resonated strongly with me. And I thought, Andhra has a lot of good natural resource. What it did not have was enlightened leadership, which it now has. And why should we therefore not think about exactly what they were telling us? And it took us a little bit of time to come sort of to accept that premise. But I think the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. And that's why we decided to put in all our chips into Andhra in a way, right? And I give full marks to both Lokesh and to the Honorable Chief Minister for that. The second thing is accessibility was phenomenal. Lokesh gave me his number. I'm in touch with him, and he, when you talk about speed, he responds very fast. So if you message him, he responds back to you definitely before the end of the day.
Are you using an agent, by the way, or are you actually responding to messages yourself?
So that's a good point. I'll sort of try to give a very difficult, complex message the next time, which may require some personal intervention. And then I'll get back to you and let you know what happens. But that is the second thing. The accessibility was really very good. And that's unusual in India. It's not very common. The third thing was not just the speed of responding to WhatsApp messages, but the speed of decision making. I think that was something that was also quite remarkable. And it's a very flat hierarchy. You talk to Lokesh, you talk to the Honorable Chief Minister, and you're pretty much, the decision gets made. And of course, it has to then be implemented, and all the proper documentation has to be done, and everything has to be checked out. But obviously, when the political side is pushing so hard, then the bureaucracy also tends to, not always, but tends to fall in line as much as possible. So I think our experience, therefore, has been very positive. And that's why, we were looking to set up our ingot wafer line and for solar manufacturing. And we talked to many states, and many states are actually very unhappy with us for having gone to Andhra Pradesh, which I find is it's good for us when we go to Andhra Pradesh, but it's bad for us when we go to almost any other state now, because actually there's such competition now between the different states. It's actually quite interesting. So I think that's been our experience. The land has been allocated. We're now going to lay the foundation stone and get moving forward. And we're looking at what else we can do in the state. So I think that's really not answering your question.
No, but I think you actually raised a very important point, because I think that's a relevant point, especially for people who are looking at investing in India as fresh investments, or even people who are looking at incremental investments. Policy continuity, tax certainty, policy predictability, political continuity as well. Decisions that you may have taken may get overturned by another government, by another dispensation, as was the case with Sumant. In this case, it actually worked to his advantage. But, how do you allay those apprehensions? How do you allay some of those concerns that investors may have?
I mean, that is a challenge for the entire political system. I mean, if you look at it globally, to be fair, I think the Indian political system definitely looks a lot better. Saying that, I believe that there's greater maturity now coming in, and it requires greater discussion. But behind all the investments. We're talking about, X amount of dollars or Y amount of land that's required. But the most fundamental point is the number of jobs we're going to create. And that is the narrative that this time around, as a state, we're very focused upon. It's important to explain to people that what's the impact that each of these investments will have and the kind of jobs it's going to create. So you create a very strong momentum so that things cannot be overturned. Yes, things have been reversed in the past, but I believe it's been an isolated incident for Andhra Pradesh in one administration. But look at it. Look at Hyderabad. What the foundations that Mr. Naidu laid in '94 have been continued. And look at the city today. Look at the state today. It has the highest per capita income in India because the narrative was set. So it's equally important for the politicians to not just look at this from an investment perspective, but also build a narrative so strong that whoever comes, I believe that there'll never be a change in Andhra Pradesh. India will be governing Andhra Pradesh for the foreseeable future, saying that it's important to ensure that a strong narrative is there and we are able to convince people at every point as we go forward.
And that's an important point that you make. So I just want to build a little bit on this narrative that you want to build on the back of the jobs that these investments will create. What's part of that package? Jobs, of course, will be one pillar, but what's part of the package that you're going to be communicating, not just domestically, but internationally as well?
No, see, as a state, we have a clear direction, right? We have the Swarnandhra mission, which is where we see Andhra Pradesh in 2047. So we have clear targets, we have clear sectors. We just spoke about manufacturing and the importance of, speed in manufacturing. I also believe that the way we have looked at it is a cluster-based approach. I've had opportunity to share that with you. And that's where we are working with Renew, and they've been supporting our initiative on a rapid prototyping center, which we want to bring in from Sydney and bring it into their ecosystem. So we are working on a very cluster-based approach where there's a tight integration between verticals and horizontals. Horizontal is education, certification, and so on and so forth. Verticals are all the different components and the players who are there, who make up the entire ecosystem, which I truly believe is missing in India as we speak. And that's why we are struggling with manufacturing. We are not at the pace at which we should be as a nation. And I believe the experiment that we are doing in Andhra Pradesh could be a model that can be replicated in India.
From all of us here, from Davos, from the Davos Dialogue and the Davos Debate, many thanks for watching. Stay tuned to CNBC TV 18. We'll be right back with you. The news continues.
the headlines?
I think the markets aren't reacting because, one, there's some economic things that are going on that appear to be overwhelming, actually, some of those geopolitical issues. And the geopolitical issues themselves aren't resolved. So it's not quite 1945. But on the economic side, the advent of artificial intelligence and its future impact and changes has created, it's not really a euphoria. It's a solid economic growth in the United States, which is a world's biggest economy by far. We grew in the last quarter 4.3%. Now, by Indian standards, that's not much. But on the other hand, we've got a GDP per capita probably around $70,000, yes. And India has $3,000. So it's easier for India to have a bigger percentage growth. But for us to be growing 4% plus, that's almost never happened in decades. And it's the impact of massive expenditures by what's called the hyperscalers. They're just big companies that are all in the data and social media and other types of activities, spending at unprecedented rates. And probably 3/4 of the growth in the United States is from the building of data centers. And now there's going to be a big boom in electricity because the U.S. is really short electricity. And for the data centers to keep being built, you need the electricity, and that's creating even more in the way of economic growth. Now, that doesn't totally explain why European markets are up, but in the U.S., something magical is happening with technology and what people think is going to happen in the future.
Well, in your words, if you believe that something magical is in fact happening on the back of technology in the U.S., what would you be long on in light of this?
Well, in point of fact, we have a point of view. And Blackstone is the largest builder of data centers in the world. And we're also the largest owner of data centers. And we're a huge investor in the modernization and growth of the electric grid. So, for example, unlike India, we've had no growth in electricity in 20 years. And we're going to start running short. And we're going to go into a world where most people think you'll have 5 to 6% growth. Now, by Indian standards, that's not that much. But if for 20 years you haven't grown at all, that increase is a very substantial increase. And the whole electric grid is going to need massive expansion, 50% type expansion at a minimum. Some people think much higher. And so as investors, being in these two areas with increased concentration has turned out to be a simply wonderful outcome.
Well, yeah, I would imagine so, and we continue to see billions of dollars being poured into the build-out on the AI infrastructure side. But, you said once recently that you believe that we're in a super cycle of fundraising. Do you believe that will continue to be the case in 2026?
Well, in terms of fundraising, it was a little tougher in the private equity area over the last few years when interest rates went up quite high in the West because of inflation after the pandemic. And that sort of trapped people who had bought deals near the top. Then interest rates went up, and all of a sudden, you couldn't sell things, and it was not a good time. But interest rates are coming down. You know, in the United States, they've already come down in Europe, and that's going to start the cycle again. But other parts of what we do at Blackstone, credit, for example, private credit, we now have $500 billion just in private credit, and our firm is increasingly close to $1.3 trillion. That's with a T.
Yes, we get that. That's with a T, 1.3 trillion, yes.
You know, I remember when we started with no assets. So this is actually pretty remarkable because, you know, we have some of these large businesses, you know, growing at 20% a year. Now, those are Indian numbers. You know, those are very nicely profitable businesses for us. And so we're moving into the cycle now because finance is somewhat cyclical, where the kinds of businesses we're in, whether they're real estate, where the
India is lucky to have an ambassador like you, Stephen Schwartzman. But what's the ambition then for India and the new themes that you believe you would like to back? You talked about real estate, and that's, of course, been the big one for Blackstone in India. India is also building out data centers as it moves down the AI highway. What will be some of the new themes that you would possibly bet on in India?
Well, we're going to continue buying companies, and we switch in different areas. We've become very big in hospitals, for example, and we have probably around 40 companies that we owned in India. And I think we're the largest foreign direct investor in India. And so we'll continue adding companies at an accelerated rate because we'll have the monies to do that. In real estate, there's always exciting things to do as data centers are developing. There have been a series of announcements, as you know, of what people hope to do. We're one of those hope to do people also. You know, we've already been building some. Whenever you operate with a country that's on the right track, there are always new opportunities that you didn't see. We did something in the money management business there. That's done really well. Something in the housing business, that continues to do well. So, you know, India has a very stable political structure now, and it's doing the right types of things. You know, so we're finding an increasing number of things to do.
Not just you hope to do, but you intend to do.
Well, we've been doing them now quite well. You don't get to be as consequential as we are in India, without doing a lot of things.
Well, we look forward to you doing more things in India and hope India continues to be number one when it comes to returns for Blackstone. But it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us here on CNBC TV 18, and we look forward to seeing you back in India as well.
Well, I love going to India, and we also have an amazing team of people in India, all Indians.
Yes.
Actually.
Well, we look forward to seeing you with your team in India. Stephen Schwartzman, thanks very much for joining us here in Davos. Well, you heard it from Stephen Schwartzman. India continues to be a theme that Blackstone will bet on, invest in. Lots of new sectors emerging there. Of course, they hope to do data centers in India, but a lot more conversation coming up for you here in Davos. Right after this short break, we're back with you in a minute. Hello and welcome to our special coverage here from Davos 2026. I'm Shireen Bhan. We've been bringing you global newsmakers, headliners, business leaders to talk us through what 2026 looks like, what will be the trends that will shape the global economy, what will shape India's growth.
Firstcry.com. Everything for your little love. नरम, आरामदायक और सुरक्षित डायपर्स आपके प्यारे बच्चे के लिए सबसे अच्छे ब्रांड्स। सब कुछ एक ही जगह पर, एक टैप पर, सरल डिलीवरी। अभी खरीदें।
AI for better experiences, powering the digital economy. We see a lot of investment around cybersecurity in the space. So I think AI lowering the barriers to bring better experiences to people is just taking hold, and we're at the beginning of a whole new dawn around digital economy. So exciting, very exciting.
I'll talk about the excitement on the digital economy in just a second, but let's talk about the real economy. And let me start by asking you about the trends that you're seeing in the US specifically. The tariffs have had an impact. Of course, not as severe as was expected, but what is the retail consumer telling you? What is the data telling you at this point in time?
When you take a look back at 2025, we're in a unique position as MasterCard. There's a lot of data. So we have a good pulse on the overall economy and particularly on the consumer. So you think with tariffs and people adjusting and companies adjusting, the overall economy adjusting, you should have felt more of an impact. But it was a pretty strong year, 3.2% on the GDP side overall for the globe, and the U.S. fared very well in that. And you ask the question, why is that? So why is it adjusting? So first of all, we have seen a lot of the learnings from COVID, supply chains are a lot more resilient, and there was a lot more focus on localizing supply chains, and that has helped in this instance. The private sector is very good adjusting when they know what's happening. So in the initial, first half of the year, that wasn't so clear, but it was pretty clear that, what the private sector had to do in the second half of the year, and the consumer adjusted as well. So if you're uncertain as the consumer, but you happen to be, in the digital economy, you have a lot of tools that allow you to find out what's the best deal for me. If I don't quite know where prices are going, but I'm going to shop around. I can see what is my loyalty program offering me, where do I get the best deal. I might have my preferences out there, I get better advertising. All these things come together, the consumer adjusted. Consumers were also shopping early in the holiday season this year. They said, okay, I need more time to find out what I'm going to spend money. So they were very prudent, very savvy, and very intentional. And we don't see that changing in 2026. So the outlook is very positive, considerably positive, let's put it that way. So we feel it's going to be a year of continued expansion. You also saw that generally there was trade alignment happening. You saw, when I think about where global trade flows go between Asia and the US, there was a little less in the second half of the year, particularly with China, so that just kind of balanced out in a way, but it all has settled. And some of the more, secular trends is continuous investment in AI and in technology that is propping up the overall economy. And you do see this continues strong household balance sheet. So all that together is a pretty positive outlook for this year.
So the outlook continues to be positive. But you talked about cross-border volumes, and that is a high-margin business for you. On account of this geo-economic confrontation and geopolitical risks and uncertainty, how much of a concern do you have on that side of the business?
So when we look at cross-border spending that's going on, you see cross-border spending in terms of travel. 2025 was a strong year on travel, and we don't see that changing. Just look at how full it is here in Davos. So people continue to travel despite headlines, and that's a fact. When you think about non-travel related cross-border spend, after COVID, non-travel related e-commerce really picked up, and those preferences have never changed. So this is a very strong business for us and for other players in the ecosystem. So people look around the world and see in the digital economy, the world is my oyster, I want to buy this, and it just happens to be available elsewhere, and consumers do that today. So we don't see that changing.
You don't see that changing either. Let's talk a little bit about what's happening in terms of payment trends, stable coins, and that's something that MasterCard has also moved to and integrated into your system. What should we expect? What will be the trends that will shape 2026?
Yeah. If you look at the headlines from a trend perspective, so stable coins, digital assets is certainly one of them. The whole space of agentic commerce is another one. And then more fundamentally cutting across both of them is generally the need to secure the digital economy. So those are three big trends that are at play. Just spend a little bit of time on each of them. Stablecoins, very interesting from our perspective. So here's a technology that facilitates quick and easy payments, programmable payments between businesses and between people. So as a payment powerhouse, the operating system of the digital economy, as I like to describe ourselves, of course we have to offer that. It's built in our network. Our network is ready to settle in stable coins everywhere around the world, and we see demand rising. Think about it in the context, for example, of cross-border payments. So those are today oftentimes payments that have to be pre-funded with stable coins as instant settlement. You don't have to do that any longer. From a capital perspective, it's a lot more efficient. For consumers or businesses, it's most likely going to be a little bit cheaper because the money arrives faster. So a lot of advantages there in that use case and many other use cases out there. We're excited about digital assets from that perspective. Agentic. So the world of agentic AI in the world of payments manifests itself, for example, from a user experience. If you decide you're going to go on your favorite chatbot and you ask your chatbot, I have to do this trip and I'm needing the following things, and it gives you a list of 10 items that you need for this, let's call it camping trip. In today's world, you might go on your favorite search engine and then hit different websites to buy what has been recommended to you. In the world of agentic commerce, you could just check out on your chatbot. And how do you do that in the world of payments? The chatbot needs to be registered. Is it a real chatbot?
Yeah.
Is it verified? What happens if something goes wrong? So all the things you take for granted when you pay with MasterCard today. So we have built that into the agentic commerce experience. And that is bound to take off because consumers like this kind of experience.
How large is it today for you, agentic
It's
commerce?
early days. It is early days. So it will be, I think, in the space of consumer payments, it will pick up first because consumers, particularly younger consumers, like to try these experiences out. It will be a good experience. But just think about the world of intercompany kind of trade flows, procurement, for example, when in a company something has to be bought from one of your vendors, and agents do this autonomously going forward. And the payment is enabled, so some sort of resource needs to be bought for the company. All of this starts to become highly automated, powered by an agentic commerce experience where the payment ecosystem and the corporate ecosystem just click into each other. Exciting times. Again, early days.
Yeah.
I think consumers are a little ahead, but this will follow, and I think we're going to see it grow very significantly.
So what kind of investments are we talking about? You have, of course, been investing in AI, also, cybersecurity. About $11 billion over the last few years has been spent on that. But
I think this was the number when we last spoke. It's much more now.
I would imagine
Right,
so. So
exactly.
what can we expect in terms of future investments now?
Yeah, so for us, we invest in emerging technology. We have to because we provide those choices to our customers, and if agentic commerce is the latest thing, or stable coins, we have to have it. So we are investing. But across the board, the investment in cybersecurity is really needed, and that's a topic that's not talked about enough. So with this ever-growing digital economy and our more digital lives by the day, keeping that digital economy safe is important. It's important. Particularly when you look at that AI is not only serving good purposes, but also it's serving the fraudsters and the scammers and the hackers. So we have to arm up. It's a bit of an arms race out there, and the industry overall is doing a good job, and we're taking a leading position here in investing and ensure that the 160 billion transactions run through our network every year are actually safe.
Well, speaking of potential risks and challenges, President Trump has made an announcement as far as an interest cap is concerned on credit cards. And I know that you don't set the rates, banks do, but the unintended consequences of a move like this, which is intended to actually make things a lot more affordable for the consumer, but what are the unintended consequences of it?
Yeah, it's an important conversation around affordability for citizens in the United States and other countries around the world. So there was a call by the president for an interest rate cap. The industry, particularly banks, have engaged on that and highlighted the importance of the affordability conversation, but it's also highlighted one has to think through what are the consequences on the availability of credit. Now, we don't set rates, as you said, but we believe in the power of the private sector finding the right balance to ensure that credit is available where it is really needed. Imagine you need a bridge from your paycheck to the washing machine that is broken down. How do you do that? So if you don't have credit available at short notice, then that might be problematic. So those are all things to thought through. I think this is early days in that conversation. but it's an active conversation, and we'll see where it goes.
I want to talk about India, and Michael, you are a regular
Right.
visitor to India, and of course, MasterCard has significant operations in India, and I know that you see India as an innovation hub for MasterCard, not just for India, but to innovate for the world. What's the latest on India?
Yeah, so there's always the latest for India. You know, earlier we were talking about payment trends, and if you think about how these payment trends play out in India, so yes, by many standards, the largest digital economy in the world. We talked about this many times before. The India tech stack pulling more people in.
That's your OOTD. Gen Z हो या Gen तो बहन तू मत पहन.
Black loafers, ew.
That bag, really?
Cut the noise, own your style with 5 lakh plus fashion trends on Flipkart.
Welcome back. Our conversations continue here at Davos 2026. Joining me now is somebody who gave us a headline here in Davos, promised to get a deal done and followed through on it. Parth Jindal, many thanks for joining us here. You did say that you will give it all that you have to get AkzoNobel, and that deal has finally been done in 2025. So congratulations once again on that. What's the headline that you're going to leave me with this time around?
No, I think last year, it was a very important deal, and actually from Davos, I had gone to Amsterdam to meet with Greg, who's the global CEO of AkzoNobel, and introduced myself. And I'm very happy that we could conclude that deal. It actually just closed in December.
Yeah.
And now we are the 4th largest player in the paint space in India, with a very clear mandate to come into the top 3 and then the top 2. So it's very exciting. Yeah, but a lot going on at the group. So
yes, there is plenty going on at the group. But since we started by talking about paints, let's double down on the paints business. And you said that the aspiration is to break into top 3 and then eventually top 2. And perhaps I don't know. You didn't even talk about number 1. But what could be the next milestone as part of this plan? A merger, maybe 2 or 3 years on?
yeah, absolutely. I think today JSW Paints is a private entity, and that is the acquiring entity that acquired a majority stake in AkzoNobel. So the first step will be to unlock all the synergies between the two companies. Obviously, both companies have a decorative business where AkzoNobel, we own the Dulux brand in India, which is extremely powerful and strong. And then there's the JSW Paints brand, which we have developed over the last 5 years. Dulux is very strong in the premium and luxury segment of the market, and JSW is very strong in the mass segment of the market. So we want to unlock those synergies, go-to-market strategy, synergies on the procurement side, on the logistics side. And then on the industrial coatings business, together the JSW and Akzo franchise, we become number 2 in the country, with a very strong presence across coil coating, vehicle refinish, marine protective coatings. And there we have a very clear plan to become number 1, because 70% of industrial coatings is applied on steel. And given that we are the largest steel producers in India, we have a right to win in that space. So I think the first step is really to unlock the synergies. And I think in 2 to 3 years' time, we would like to merge JSW Paints into the listed entity. And then, yeah, hopefully by then we will be in the top 3, and then we can aim for bigger things.
Well, what are going to be some of the levers that you intend to exercise to be able to break into the top 3? And also from an integration point of view, what will be the next sort of steps on that front?
Yeah, so if you look at the business today, by the end of fiscal 26, JSW Paints and AkzoNobel combined, we would be a 7,000 crore business, with the decorative business being about 3,800 crores and the industrial business being about 3,200 crores. Now, the next step for us is obviously to double down on the industrial business as well as on the decorative business. So on the decorative business, if you look at it, AkzoNobel has about 20,000 retailers across India that sell Dulux, and JSW Paints has about 9,000. And there's very little overlap between the two. So the first step would be to offer JSW products to the AkzoNobel dealers and to offer Dulux products to the JSW dealers. With that, we think we can increase our counter share across each of these 29,000 counters, while also adding new counters. With this, we think we can significantly increase our market share, which combined is about 7%. Next year, we would be targeting to at least get to 10% in the decorative side of it. The back-end synergies are very powerful, because today AkzoNobel services some of their southern Indian markets from their plants in the west. JSW services the entire country from one plant in the south. But now with the combined footprint of 6 manufacturing locations, the logistics cost can come down significantly. The go down cost, the last mile cost will be shared between the two companies, giving us a lot of synergies. So with that, we expect margins to improve, and that money that we can
Kalyani's surgery went well. Please keep the corneal topography, the posterior float, and corneal pachymetry reports on my table. And, Kalyani's father?
Yes, doctor.
Lasik surgery went well. She's fine.
Can I see her?
You can take her along with you.
Hey, Kalyani?
We know how to speak the language of care. Vasanai care.
Used to be extremely strong. So I think it was more weather related because of the prolonged monsoon, because of some parts of the country having significant heat waves and now significant cold waves. I think demand took a hit, but now it looks like demand has come back. And with that, I hope that the industry gets back some pricing power, because prices have seriously eroded since the GST reduction. When the Prime Minister announced a reduction from 28% to 18%, the prices have actually corrected much more than 10%. It's actually gone down nearly 17%. So we hope that the prices recover. And normally the construction season is from December to June, which is normally when the demand is very strong, and hopefully that shows up in the numbers as well.
Well, there's been a fair amount of consolidation in the cement space as well. There are many players that are still up for grabs or in the market on the block. Is that an area that you're going to be looking at?
You know, cement is I think we are a relatively small player in cement. We have a very ambitious organic roadmap to go from 20 million tons to 40 million tons and then to 60 million tons. Our first greenfield expansion in the north of India in Rajasthan will be commissioning in this quarter. With that, we would become a pan-India cement player. And then we want to continue on the organic journey because the competition is fierce. They have very, very strong balance sheets there. And I don't think they're going to let any of the good assets go to a player like JSW. And they would be, fighting amongst each other for those kind of assets. Amongst the assets that are available, there are very few that have, scale or are in a good market. The assets which are available are not of interest really to us. And even if they were, I think we would not be able to compete with the larger players.
So given the fact that you're dealing with large players, also with large players who have large balance sheets, what's then the plan for growth as far as the cement business is concerned? Your shareholders would also be interested to know because, the stock is down 20% from its listing price.
Yeah, I think for us, the synergies with the rest of the group give us a very significant cost advantage. So the waste product that comes out of the steel making process, slag, is our basic raw material. The fly ash that comes out of all the power plants is also our basic raw material. We leverage the JSW infrastructure, port and transport facilities to lower our logistics costs. And with that, we're in the top quartile on the cost side. And obviously the JSW brand is very well known. It's even getting more well known every day. And with the JSW car, I think the brand will absolutely go to the next level. And I think that results in a superior price as well in the market. And we would be able to compete very closely with Ultratech or Ambuja or some of the larger brands in cement. And that's how we've been able to grow this business. So I think for us, the focus is very clear, build capacity at lower than replacement costs, go to good geographies. If you look at our footprint, we've primarily been in the south and in the west. South has always been oversupplied. Now we're going to the more lucrative markets of the north and then to central. With that, hopefully our EBITDA per ton would be one of the best, if not the best in the industry. That's the aim.
So what's the next milestone as far as cement business is concerned?
So commissioning Rajasthan, with that we would get to 25 million tons. We are also expanding our footprint in the UAE. We're adding a third clinker line as well as a grinding unit there. We have also starting the work for the central India operations in Madhya Pradesh. So the plan is by FY29 to get to 40 million tons. So that would be the big milestone for the company and then grow from there.
Well, let's talk about the car, which you just brought up. So 2026, is that going to be the year that we see the JSW car roll out?
Yeah, absolutely. I can confirm that the JSW car will be launching this calendar year. We are aiming to launch it just before Diwali to catch the festive season. The factory construction in Shambhaji Nagar is well underway. It's a large investment, 14,000 crore investment, actually the MOU for which was signed last year by my father, our chairman, with the Honorable Chief Minister of Maharashtra. And yeah, the project is completely on track, and the first car is already identified, designed for India. Localization works are underway, and by hopefully by August the production will begin, and by September we should be available in the country.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about this and give me a glimpse of what this car is going to look like. Localization you spoke about. So how much of this car is actually going to be assembled here in India as opposed to made in India?
Yeah, actually, so the like I said, the factory is under construction. The main part of the factory, which is the paint shop and the general assembly line, the general assembly line will be ready by the month of June, and the paint shop will be ready by the month of October. So in the initial period, we will be bringing the parts from the home rooms and be assembling it in
home rooms being where?
In China. And it's a global Chinese company, and we will be bringing the parts from there and assembling the car in Shambhaji Nagar and delivering it. From the month of October onwards, the car will be 80% localized, other than the cell, for which none of the Indian auto companies today have the technology. Everything else, from the battery pack to the steel for the BIW parts, the motor, the seats, the glass, the tires, everything else will be localized. So from October onwards, we'll have an 80% local car, and we are in advanced discussions even now to get the cell technology so that we could localize the cell as well. Our idea is that we would like to be 100% local producer in India with global technology partnerships with companies.
And what's the price point that you're going to play in? And you talked about competition. This is an increasingly competitive space. I mean, you've got the likes of Tesla in India struggling to sell.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you look at our experience has been very positive. We acquired MG in India last year, and this year the Windsor, which is the first car that the JSW Group brought into the country, is the fastest selling EV in the.
Fit is chill, flex is real. Many moods, many outfits. Playdate, park. It's that vibe from AM to PM. We've got fits. Shop the coolest casuals on firstcry.com. Delivered at a tap. Shop now.
We want to establish the brand, establish the powertrain, establish the technology, because we're bringing it in a plug-in hybrid format, which we believe is the right intermittent technology for India till charging infrastructure gets developed in the country. So that's going to be at a slightly higher price point to establish the JSW brand. And then the next car we're going to bring in is going to be in the month of January 27, which is going to be in that 15 to 20 lakh rupee price point.
Do you have names for these two already?
So they're global platforms. They're globally available. We've just tweaked the design a little bit for India, but we have to change the name. So there's a lot of discussion going on the naming right now. We will announce that soon.
Okay, so Diwali, that's the first launch from JSW, the car that we will see hitting Indian roads, and 27 will be the second one. But Parth, thank you so much for joining us. We wish you the very best of luck and look forward to seeing more of you and hearing more from you as you get closer to these launches, and of course both on the cements and the paint side of the business. Appreciate your time here in Davos 2026.
Thank you so much.
Well, with that, it is time for us to take a break, but don't go anywhere. Plenty of headlines coming in, as you just heard there from Parth Jindal, taking us through their launch plans for the JSW car, Diwali, and then the second one in 27. There's a lot more coming up. Don't go anywhere. We're back in a minute on CNBC TV 18. Welcome back. Our continuing coverage from Davos 2026 is on here on CNBC TV 18. Joining us now to talk to us about the road ahead for his business is Neeraj Cover of Apollo Tyres. Neeraj, always a pleasure. Many thanks for joining us here. So 2026 bodes well for you. You know, on the back of GST cuts, the auto sector in India has certainly got a bump up. What's demand looking like?
Well, I'm pretty bullish. As you know, I'm always optimistic. Demand is looking at a double-digit figure. Apollo is doing very well in both the commercial segment and in the passenger vehicle segment. Also, we went to two-wheelers for now past 3 years. So we're gaining market share. I think India also on the OE side, they're very positive. GST has really helped us, specifically the consumers, to have more money in their pockets, thereby spending more money on tires. And it's also a safety issue because people were still holding back to change their tires. Now they have free money to change their tires, so safety becomes another important part given road accidents increasing in India. So I'm pretty bullish for 26, both. That's another problem. So the budget brands are growing in Europe and the higher brands are coming down. So the middle segment and the lower segment is growing because tires are coming for cheap.
You know, you talked about the Chinese threat, and how big of an issue is that? How big of a concern is that for you at this point in time?
Well, for India it's fine. We have tariffs to block Chinese tires coming in. But in Europe, yes, it is a challenging time. So we're trying to see how we can cut our costs in order to try and beat them with better technology. So we're investing a lot in R&D and in building the brand to try and see how we can compete with the Chinese brands in Europe.
Raw material costs, you know, your peer has spoken about raw material costs going up. What is it looking like for you?
Well, right now I think it's stabilized. It had gone up, but in the coming 2 quarters I see it at the current levels. Maybe it go up by 1 or 2%, but nothing drastic.
Okay, so what could be the levers that you then look to drive growth for you forward with the uncertainty in Europe continuing?
Well, first coming to India, as you know, we sponsor the India national cricket team. So that is in a big way.
Worried?
No, not worried at all. I think we're doing very good.
Given the past history, no?
No. I told some of the journalists before that I'm not one of those. The company is built since 1976. In fact, this is our 50th year. In November was the first tire that came out in 1976. So the company is built with very strong foundations, set of 20,000 people, families that we have to look after. So we are here to stay. That's all I want to tell you. So yeah, to build the brand, we've invested in the cricket team, and that's a huge pride for us. It's not only Apollo investing in Apollo is invested in the country's pride, which gets the country, the nation together. Hopeful that they win the T20 World Cup. I hope they're listening to me. But no, yeah, so that in itself since October has given us a huge benefit in the rural markets for passenger car and two-wheeler. So because we're out there, it's very difficult to get your brand recognition in the really rural markets. And today in India, everyone watches cricket. And so we've seen expansion, we've seen distribution increase in India, especially in those markets where we are gaining market share. Coming to Europe, I think Europe, the challenge is going to be how we can do cost savings on our overheads, which we've already started, how we can come down on A&P spends, on advertising and publicity. So looking at our overall cost structure, we will also benefit, as we announced earlier this year, that we are shutting down our plant in the Netherlands. So that's a huge cost base that's coming up. Okay, and most of the production is going to be moved to the Hungary and to India. So you're looking at a low cost base coming into a higher profit pool. So margins will increase, definitely. It's a matter of time. We've already announced it. Hopefully by June or by July end, we'll be done with the Netherlands factory. So I see that cost structure coming down and then becoming again competitive in Europe is the next driver for us.
So what should shareholders look forward to? You talked about the divestiture of the Netherlands plant and how that could provide or aid margins going forward. What should shareholders look forward to?
Well, we're in it in a positive run, I would say. I see India and Europe growing with healthy margins. And yes, that's what the investors should look at.
Well, we wish you the very best of luck, Neeraj. As always, thanks very much for joining us here in Davos, and good luck with the business and good luck with the Indian cricket team.
Good luck to all of us.
Absolutely. Well, with that, it is time for us to take a break here, but the conversations will continue. More newsmakers coming right up on CNBC TV 18.
Indian markets end the week deep in the red with a sharp sell-off across the board. The Sensex, Nifty Bank all down 2.5% for the week, while the broader markets take a heavier hit. The mid-cap index slides nearly 4.5%, making it the biggest weekly fall in nearly 4 months. Investor wealth takes a severe knock as companies lose more than 15 lakh crore rupees in market capitalization. Overall, risk-off sentiment dominates the Wall Street as markets close the week on a very weak note. Hello and welcome to Editors Roundtable. I am Reema Tendulkar. With me are Prashant and Nigel. And in a bit, we'll also be joined by Rajesh Kothari, Alpha Accurate Advisors. He's here with us on the Zoom.
I think Nigel is not on the show.
Nigel's not on the show today. Hi, guys. This was the week where, forget the levels, right? Levels fell, like it was a cascading kind of a waterfall, but the sentiment got hit and so many mid-caps were down 15-20% so far this week. And this was the week where we heard the words throw in the towel, capitulation a lot more than before.
Actually, if you sorry?
A lot more from me,
lot more, yeah.
No, I'm just saying that, just think about it, right? Till last Friday, in a way, when did the correction start? The high on the Nifty was about 26,400 on the 5th of January. And it started towards the end of last week. This weekend, the last weekend, all this Greenland rhetoric reached all-time highs. Global markets, went into a bit of a tailspin, the Japan bond deal thing. But that was all Monday, Tuesday. Global markets all settled, right? Especially in the last 24 hours, maybe last 48 hours, they all settled. But no settling here in India. And I think one primary reason is, and I said this yesterday or day before as well, it's like a feedback loop in terms of rupee and the equity thing, right? Rupee, we spoke with Jayesh Mehta, who's a veteran in forex markets, who said he's blaming the daily
equity
number.
Market.
He's analyzing, the gross buy number, gross sell number on the equity side, not what's happening. So his point is that, and obviously it is not global. I just checked the dollar index. Dollar index YTD changes 0.01%.
Yeah.
We are down 2.5% against the dollar. So it's not global, but it's not even local, is what people like Jayesh Mehta, the point that they're making, they're basically just saying it is every day the selling, the lack of dollars, right? Offshore, the exporters are not selling. RBI, of course, is being naturally opportunistic. And his basic point is there's a little sense of confusion in terms of what is leading to this kind of relentless selling. And unless that is identified and, you kind of do something, otherwise there's no point throwing in a way good money after bad. I'm talking about RBI intervention and providing dollars, etc. So, a bit of a lost kind of a week.
So the forex market is blaming equity market and the equity market is blaming the forex market. Because of rupee, markets are falling and the forex guys are saying that because markets are falling, FIs are selling, the rupee is under pressure. So I guess nobody knows. But the fact is, just to add to what Prashant said, globally everything is quiet and good. It's only painful in India markets. In fact, if you look at India
when you say globally, not just developed markets, look at emerging
Asian
markets.
Look at Asian markets.
Asian emerging markets. Look at those currency crosses against the dollar.
So
Flat to higher.
India currently is nowhere on the radar for foreign investors. You look at Korea market, look at Taiwan's market, all other markets have done well. By today, forget the 1 year chart and all. Even since the beginning of the year,
This
all
week,
other
Koski's
markets
up 3.5%.
Exactly, all other markets except for India has done phenomenally well, and that's the reason why the feedback from the dealing room is that FIs are not keen to look at India market because there is absolutely no momentum.
In fact, let's just get in Rajesh Kothari and try and make sense. Rajesh, you want to make sense of what's happening in the Indian markets, particularly this week, and the way the mid-cap index was down 4.5%. The advanced decline ratio day after day was 1:5, 1:7, 1:3. Make sense of what's happening and India's underperformance equity-wise and even on the currency side.
Clearly, what is bothering the investors in general is the uncertainty. And uncertain times always creates more volatility. And that volatility results into more fear. And that fear results into more selling. So it is a chain reaction, one leads to another. And that's what is basically happening. And because of this Trump-related uncertainty, the trade date is going to take some time. Everybody now knows that it may not happen in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. Probably it's going to take weeks, if not months. So there's going to be some, I would say, uncertainty, and that's what is creating. People are postponing probably their.
Firstcry.com. Everything for your little love. नरम, आरामदायक और सुरक्षित डायपर्स आपके प्यारे बच्चे के लिए सबसे अच्छे ब्रांड्स. सब कुछ एक ही जगह पर, एक टैप पर, सरल डिलीवरी। अभी खरीदें।
Answer is yes, because अभी तो सेल लगा हुआ है, तो एक पे एक फ्री है, कहीं 30% डिस्काउंट है, कहीं 40% डिस्काउंट है, so Christmas season is on, sale season is on, so take benefit of it.
Okay, so what are you buying? Rajesh, anything that you bought of late just to take this opportunity of discounts of 20, 30, 40%?
No, I think, Nimish, this discount is across sectors, across good companies. And if you look at particularly mid and small cap bucket, I was, we actually in the verge of publishing one paper that how the today's mid and small cap have transformed in last 10 years, And few things are eye-openers, if I tell you that Nifty mid-cap index, the median net profit size is 1,000 crores. And still it is called mid-cap. If you look at the Nifty 250 median net profit size is 400 crores, but it is still called small cap. So the size of the profits have gone up tremendously. The leverage has become zero. If you look at the average debt equity of mid and small cap today, has become zero. So I think they have transformed. They are growing faster. And again, the one thing which we always say that 0 to 1,000 companies, these are the right companies to focus on. This is where the big alpha is very likely to be created over medium to long term. And the valuations have also corrected, thankfully. So I think this is the right spot. Automobile is one sector which we continue to like. We have been talking about this with you guys from almost like 1.5 to 2 years. Most of these stocks have delivered extremely good returns despite this kind of market. Consumer is one segment which we are now interestingly looking for that segment. We believe that there is going to be revival in consumer discretionary. Hospitals have also corrected. I think valuations have now become more reasonable. So there is another one more space which you can focus on. So there are always pockets of opportunities across various sectors.
Rajesh, manufacturing, I think broadly has been a strong theme for you over the years that we've spoken and recently as well. For example, we've spoken about names like Hitachi, etc. in the past with you. These have seen, Hitachi it's seen a sharp correction after that Chinese equipment news flow and other things. I want to identify 1, 2, 3 top bets in that space. Manufacturing, it includes auto, everything. Just with full disclosure, if you want to talk to us about that.
So basically, in manufacturing theme, there are always multiple themes within manufacturing. Auto ancillary is one such space which we like the most. There are tremendous opportunities in auto ancillaries. The content per vehicle story is continuing to gain more momentum. There's a premiumization, more safety features, more sensors in a vehicle. All this leads to high content per vehicle. And, please put a disclosure because now we are talking about stocks. These are not recommendations and we might have holdings in these companies. So we continue to own companies like Gabriel, companies like Uno Minda, companies like Sriram Pistons, companies like TVS Motor in OE, and they continue to deliver super growth. Apart from automobile, if you look at even capital goods space, one of the company which you mentioned, we are holding from last 2.5, 3 years. And by the way, while people talk about China thing, but I'm sure you will be knowing that the company which you talked about is the biggest one in China. They are the largest presence in China, one of the largest presence in China. The entire biggest Chinese project has been done by, the Hitachi Energy Global. So I think most of these fears are more of a noise rather than, fundamentally 100% fact-based checks. So I think the opportunity is huge. The order books are now almost 4 times revenue. And we continue to see more and more of that because AI is gaining further momentum in the world. More AI means more data center. It means you require more grid stability. It means you require more companies who can do the HVDC kind of a transformers. And only 1 or 2, 3 companies in the world can do that. So I think there is a long runway for growth for next 3, 4, 5 years. So that continues to remain one of our favorite. And likewise, we have opportunities within capital goods, very important good segment within defense. We like 1 or 2 companies. Within the aerospace, we like 1 or 2 companies. So there are so many opportunities across the pockets of sectors.
Defense and aerospace, which ones, Rajesh?
not like to disclose the name, it's part of the fact sheet, but there are one or two interesting companies which are focused on nuclear side as well as renewable energy side, as well as they are focused on the defense side. And these are the component companies having de-risked their business model. So they are not dependent only on one segment, they are dependent on multiple segments. And, we have been holding that company for, some time.
Sure. Rajesh, the big theme in the last 6 months has been the PE compression across the sectors, whether it's real estate, whether it's the solar companies, or for that matter, any company which is like even for that matter, Dixon, they all have seen a prior PE compression now in the last 6 months. Anything that excites you now after the recent correction? Because in the real estate pack, stocks are down 50%. Stock like Dixon is on 50% from the top. Even for that matter, the Premier and Varis of the world have corrected 30-40%. Anything in that space which was commanding a very high premium and now it's collapsed and is still attractive now to you?
Very good point, Nimesh. I think what we all need to understand is that why the PE has corrected or not, because at times the stock price corrects, but EPS also corrects, then PE don't correct. So we are actually now looking for companies where EPS have actually gone up and price to earning multiple has corrected. If that is the combination, then the re-rating in the next bull market, whenever the market turns, is going to be significant. And there, the companies are only few. Not that every company, there is a PE compression. Generally, broad market PE correction has happened, but there are many companies where earnings contraction has also happened. But there is a fear that, for example, renewable, which, few names which you are talking about, there is a fear about sustainability of those earnings. So we are skipping that entire segment. We are skipping the entire so-called, that renewable segment of solar cells and solar panels. We don't want to be into that segment, we would like to skip that segment. On the EMS space, is an interesting space, and there are few companies which are continuing to deliver very high growth. I think those companies will do better. There are few companies which are right now going through some, what I would say, they are dependent on the, what happens to the Chinese joint venture or the Chinese customer, and therefore we are seeing some correction over there. Hopefully even that will get addressed, no doubt about it. But till the time that doesn't get addressed, stock may remain under pressure.
Rajesh, you own some EMS companies in your portfolio, right? Sirma, Avalon, Dixon.
Yes. So Sirma, Avalon, again, please put disclosure. They are continuing doing extremely well, and we don't see any significant, risk to their earnings. Both these companies have been doing phenomenally well, and they, let's see how they go the next 3-4 quarters. But they are on the right wicket.
So Sirma and Avalon are a part of your portfolio.
Yeah.
So you said the opportunity lies in companies where there has been an EPS increase, but valuations have corrected or derated. Now, in your coverage universe, or how many other stocks, 500 stocks, 200 stocks that you all cover at Alpha Accurate Advisors, how many such stocks are there which fit this criteria of earnings increases, but the PE has derated?
I think the first sector which comes to our mind when I look at my Excel sheet is automobile. Because post GST cut, there has been EPS upward revision. And October was good, November was good, December also was extremely strong. So naturally, the auto, overall, there is an upgradation of the number. And the stock prices are down. It means the PEs have corrected. Number one.
Rajesh, just to get a devil's advocate on autos, how do you read the recent hike in the commodity prices? Because, that might have an impact on the margins in the very near term, right? Is that a right thesis to look at? That the volatility in commodities is going to have an impact on the margins for a lot of these auto companies?
See, what happens typically, the prices of commodity generally get passed through over the next 3 to 6 months, high or low. It's extremely competitive, So if suppose metal price goes down, that doesn't mean the auto company will also give more discounts, because they will pass on that benefit to gain the market share. And if the metal price goes up, every auto company will pass on, because there is an industry problem. That is not company specific problem.
Sure.
More importantly, auto ancillary therefore are better off than auto OE, because auto OE is a brand fight, whereas auto ancillary companies who are into airbags, they don't have brand fight, and they continue to pass on the entire raw material hike. So it is a less of a concern, if you ask my personal view. So automobile is one sector where earnings have been seen upgrade, but the stock price have corrected. In fact, recent correction is very sharp, and therefore the PE has actually compressed. If you look at the few, NBFC as well, because there also we are going to see now upgrade of the earnings, because pricing difference, the NIM compression is not so high compared to what everybody thought earlier. So NBFC, be it a commercial vehicle financing, housing finance is also now going to recover. Housing credit growth has started showing improvement. So there also you are going to see some upward momentum in terms of the EPS, and the valuation, if corrected, that provides good opportunity. And same thing is for hospital, because remember, hospitals have done huge capex. So from 1Q, 2Q onwards, we need to be 6 months ahead of time. You are going to see good growth in the hospitals, and the valuations have corrected again in hospitals. So these are the 3-4 segments where I think the PEG have done more at rate.
Sure.
2 points on hospitals. I just remember this data point, and it just stuck with me. I think we spoke with the Macquarie Pharma and Healthcare analyst. He said that the stocks under their coverage, about 7 top hospitals, 40,000 beds, they said that there are plans afoot across all these hospitals to add another 10,000 beds.
Yeah.
So the entire industry, according to him, is going into. I mean, that's typically how hospitals. I mean, every few years they will
It'll be capex.
Capex, and then it'll settles and etc. So we are at that cusp of the addition. And autos, Nimesh, you were talking about. If you remember, Ramdeo Agarwal was with us at the Market Forum, and he said autos. Auto is the dark horse star of 2020. And by the way, his call is very simple. Huh? Yeah. His call is credit growth is direct injection into the economy. Credit growth had fallen to 8%. It's back to 14%. RBI is all out to push credit growth. And where is that money going? It probably his assessment is autos and housing. That's where it will go. The only question is, credit growth needs deposit growth also, and deposit growth has been very sluggish. But I think yesterday, SBI chairman, I think it was very interesting. He said, like it happens in the West, I think you're going to get to a position where banks will borrow and lend. So they will not entirely depend on deposits. So we'll have to see. But his big call was that credit growth is the big driver from here in that sense.
Rajesh, you briefly spoke about NBFCs. This week was classical in terms of few large accidents in the NBFC space, IFL Finance, PNB Housing, on a slightly weak note, and the guidance. Also, Paytm was a big accident of today's market. Anything after the fall which has turned attractive to you? You've started looking at that. Any of these names now, whether housing finance companies or NBFCs?
Currently, we do not own any of these three names which you have mentioned. The companies what we are holding in portfolio, they are doing extremely well. And if you look at even RBI data, even for the overall sector, housing credit growth has started improving, which was kind of a subdued. Correct? And if you look at even the microfinance companies who have announced their number, their collection efficiency is also improving. It means overall the borrower health is now showing some trend of improvement, which is a good thing, correct? Because if the borrower health is good, everybody would like to lend to good borrowers. So by default, you will see better credit growth, and of course the institute has to be good, asset quality has to be good. That goes without saying. So I think you will see improvement across, the housing finance sector in particular, where the risk is also very. Commercial vehicle financing also will see improvement in trend. Look at the largest CV player numbers, which were announced in month of November and December. It's extremely strong numbers. So that also reflects that CV financing company will also do well over next 3, 6, 9, 12 months, correct? So these two pockets in particular looks very interesting within overall, the NBFC space.
I think in the new age, what Nimesh was asking, you have physics wala car trade info edge, right? Rajesh, as part of the...
No, we have one of, Policy Bazaar, of course. Please put a disclaimer. PP FinTech is one of our large holding. And again, if you look at this company, they are growing by 40% because 90% market share, and the digital insurance industry is growing by 40% compared to the average industry growth of only 11%. So, that we continue to like that name. And the other thing, what you mentioned, we own that as well. And we believe that, the platform companies, it's better to take a portfolio approach rather than, one company make it big in a portfolio. We don't do that. We do it as a portfolio approach because we know that the biggest risk in this kind of business models, likewise, they disrupted somebody. Somebody can also disrupt them. Right? So you need to take into consideration those points. But the growth is right now very solid for 3-4 companies which we own for the digital platform companies.
Rajesh, running out of time, so just one final question to end this session. Are we closer to the tail end of the correction? And how much more downside if you have to pin it down in terms of headline indices?
Well, I think if you look at the Nifty, we are trading at, 7% discount compared to 10 years average valuation. And therefore, I think downside in Nifty is very minimal. If you ask my personal view, maybe 4-5% is a normal correction. Mid and small cap, they might remain a little bit more volatile. But difficult to time what is the trough and what is the, peak and trough. But very strong margin of safety if anybody buys at today's levels. As I'm saying, sale लगा हुआ है, 30-40-50 का discount पे लगा हुआ है. I think equity is the only commodity, जब भी generally ऐसा होता है कि, price नीचे होता है तो demand बढ़ती है, sale लग जाता है. लेकिन equity is the only commodity in the world. अगर भाव घटता है तो demand भी कम हो जाती है. So, take it to your advantage. That's the only thing what you can do.
I think 3 days of restful...
Reflection, right? That's what you called it.
And Monday, Tuesday, we will come back. And by the way, it tells us about how little interest there is around the budget. That we've not even broached the subject of the budget with Rajesh, right?
I was going to ask him.
I think we're going to get to it on Tuesday.
Provided there are no big Trump headlines shaking the global markets. But thank you very much, Rajesh, for joining in. Have a restful weekend. It's been great chatting with you.
Thank you.
And well, with that, it's gone down in this edition of Editors Roundtable. Thank you very much for watching.
We Work India presents CNBC TV 18, The Titans.
Welcome to We Work India presents CNBC TV 18, The Titans, a series that spotlights companies that have remained resilient, reinvented themselves through disruption, and scaled to become industry-defining giants. India stands at one of the most exciting turning points in its economic journey. The AI revolution is no longer emerging, it is accelerating. At the same time, India's factories are undergoing a modern-day overhaul. So today, we bring you two titans that are steering the shift from different vantage points, driving India's leap forward. Hewlett-Packard Enterprises and Rockwell Automation. We're here at the sprawling HPE campus in Bengaluru's Mahadevpura. At 1.3 million square feet, this is the company's largest campus in the world and the heartbeat of global innovation, engineering, and product development. Now, in India, HPE spans 13 sites across 9 cities with more than 19,000 employees. And joining me now is Bhavna Agarwal, who's Senior Vice President and Managing Director of HPE India, a leader with more than 25 years of experience driving digital transformation and building high-impact tech ecosystems. Bhavna, welcome on the show and thanks very much for your time today. HPE is completing 10 years this year. That's quite some milestone. In that time, enterprise tech has also shifted quite dramatically. I mean, you have cloud, you have AI, hybrid models. How has India, to your mind, contributed to HPE's evolution? And now, where do you see the biggest inflection points?
Thank you so much, Ritu, and welcome to our campus in Bengaluru. This year, in fact, marks a milestone for us as HPE celebrates 10 years in India, a decade of innovation behind us, and an exciting future ahead. In fact, from powering everyday transactions with HPE Nonstop to enabling 6 of the world's top 10 fastest supercomputers, our technology underpins both the extraordinary and the essential. Let me tell you one thing, India is no longer just any other growth market for us. It is our strategic partner for manufacturing, talent, innovation, and digital transformation. Our Bengaluru R&D Center, it drives breakthroughs in AI, networking, and hybrid cloud. In fact, it has contributed 360 patents in the last 3 years, something we are very proud of. Looking forward, the next big inflection points that will be shaped by AI-driven services, hybrid cloud adoption, and advanced networking. And these are the areas where India will continue to lead the way.
Okay, take that point. Well, HPE's Made in India servers have crossed a pretty major milestone very quickly. But how are you balancing this global reliability standard with India-focused scaling, supply chains, customer needs, all of that in mind?
So our ambition to manufacture $1 billion worth of servers in India over 5 years is firmly on track. And we continue to scale our capacity and capability in partnership with VVDN Technologies. And by combining this participation in the government's PLI scheme with regional manufacturing and continuous investment, we are delivering world-class quality built in India, and that's optimized for India's scale and speed, without compromising the global reliability standards. And we're really proud of that.
Well, yes, take that point, Bhavna, but we also keep hearing that nearly half of India's enterprises have multiple AI, Gen AI projects that are live. But on the ground, Bhavna, what kind of changes are you seeing? I mean, who's moving fastest and what is still holding some of the sectors back, you think?
Oh yes, Ritu, you're right. AI adoption in India is accelerating, with most enterprises running multiple AI or Gen AI projects. In fact, over the past 12 to 18 months, we have seen a really sharp rise in AI maturity across many sectors, whether you look at BFSI, manufacturing, public sector, though the barriers to skill do remain. In fact, BFSI and healthcare, they are leading the way. They're using AI for fraud detection, personalization, predictive care, and that's actually transforming the entire sector. I'm also seeing manufacturing. They are also embracing digital twins and smart factories, regulatory compliance, talent gaps, data and infrastructure readiness. And the way we are addressing this, it's through private cloud AI. We've co-developed that with NVIDIA, and that is delivering pre-validated blueprints and data fabric for faster time to value. And this has been a concern of several enterprises that we hear. And next frontier is clear. A well-defined AI strategy, data availability, and these are the areas where HPE is helping customers turn ambition into outcomes.
But how is HPE preparing India's infrastructure? I mean, not just for speed, but also sustainability and long-term resilience.
At HPE, we are engineering for sustainable AI across our entire stack. Whether you look at data center design, power and cooling, equipment, operations, and lifecycle management. And we have in fact partnered with government, research and academia across the world to not only build the most powerful supercomputers, but also responsibly deliver most energy efficient supercomputers. And believe me, that makes all the difference.
Well, finally, Bhavna, you've been part of lots of national bodies, and from that vantage point, what does resilient leadership really look like in an AI era? And what, to your mind, must India's tech ecosystem focus on next to stay relevant globally and competitive as well?
In fact, from my conversations with government and industry stakeholders across forums, I believe 3 priorities can be identified for India technology ecosystem to stay competitive. First is expanding access to high quality compute. So innovators are not really constrained by infrastructure gaps. Second could be about bringing clarity to secure AI standards. And it's not just another software concern. Hardware players, in fact, are also increasingly need predictable norms around trusted compute, certified data DC infrastructure, and supply chain assurance to plan investments and product roadmaps. And third could be strengthening India's innovation pipeline through deeper R&D partnerships and talent development. In fact, government is signaling through the India AI mission, combined with the broader ecosystem's call for responsible, interoperable, and future-ready AI infra. And all of this is pointing in the same direction. Leadership now really means aligning with these priorities and helping India scale AI in a way which is secure, inclusive, and globally competitive.
We're going to go deeper into the engines that are powering this innovation, which is the technology and the talent backbone. And joining us now is Ranganath Sadasiva, who's the CTO of HP India. Ranganath, it's a pleasure to have you join us here. You know, this center we're at, the Bengaluru Customer Solution Center, you're transforming this into a global customer innovation center. You know, what does that kind of a transformation entail when it comes to the kind of complex challenges you're solving here? What customers will come to expect?
Our ability to kind of innovate and bring things, make solutions very simple is the key here. So instead of saying you have this from HPE, we will say we'll walk the talk and deliver a lot of solutions to you. That's the premise of a solution center. And that's where we ensure that the customer really feels technology is very easy for them.
Well, you know, speaking of technology, the world has gone through so many technology cycles. You as CTO would have seen so many of them. But, you know, in the world of today, what does tech leadership really look like, and how do you ensure, you know, in your task as the CTO, that you're at the cutting edge of technology and yet you're also keeping center and the customer and their needs at the core of what you do?
Few things that are changing and how we ensure that it's all brought together is to ensure that these technologies are mapped on to the typical use cases that customers have, the business benefits that they have. Time to market is another thing, right?
Yes.
You know, a lot of people are struggling with the initial experiments that they had. How do you scale that? And how do you derive more value out of it? Those are the areas where we are able to kind of fast track through the CSE center here. We take, say, a use case that's there and ensure how do we scale on that, how do you get more leverage on that particular use case in an AI world, or many other technologies that we really handle. So it is, it's kind of bringing technology and accelerating that in a way and fashion that you're able to conserve your energies as a customer and deliver more in a smaller time frame.
You know, we can't really talk about this tech leadership and anything tech without really touching upon cybersecurity.
Right.
Just take us through the, you know, what the kind of work you're doing there, the kind of trends you're seeing there, and the importance of it for HPE today.
Our ability to kind of build security, which is integral to a component, a product, as a design is very, very important. That's where we are focused as well, to build security as a full stack solution with a 360-degree approach.
We're still here at the HPE campus in Bengaluru, and when we talk about any kind of digital transformation, the key aspect of it, at the very core of it, is talent, it's people, and who better to talk about it than the senior HR business partner at HPE, Pritika Sharma. Pritika, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Pleasure is mine as well.
Well, you know, let's start by laying out the ecosystem, the landscape at the moment.
How is the talent landscape evolving? Let me give you an example of the hybrid work model, for example, right? The hybrid work model has really shifted its focus from a temporary fix to a strategic capability.
Okay.
And this has really strengthened our culture of trust and has also reshaped or resulted in outcome-based business results. And with AI-led roles reshaping careers, I think there are two constant things that have been really fantastic at HPE, and I'm so proud to talk about that, right? It's continuous learning, internal mobility, and this has really helped us build the future talent skills that we require at workforce today. And with well-being, proud to say again, we're 19,000 employees, inclusive of Juniper colleagues. We've sort of embedded well-being into our culture through some great well-being practices, extremely great wellness zones that we have today, and also flexible work policies that has really shaped our culture into one of the best organizations to work for.
What are the key skills, key qualities that you're looking for in talent today?
Our Mahadevpura campus at Bengaluru Whitefield is at a 1.3 million square feet where we are standing here today. It houses the best state-of-art R&D facilities where we have 16 advanced labs, 4,000 HP and 1,800 Juniper racks. This is of course complemented by a culture, and again I'm extremely proud to say that HPE India is #1 in the IT/ITS Ambition Box, which is the Employee Choice Awards, consecutively for 2024 and 2025. We're #3 in the women friendliest workplaces, and we're also the top 20 companies across all sectors consistently.
Well, you must be doing something right. You have 19,000 stronger workforce here. Proud HPE. On that note, Pritika, it's been a pleasure having you here. Thanks very much for your time. To truly understand India's transformation, you need both lenses. The digital backbone that is powering enterprises and the automation backbone powering factories. From AI native cloud to connected production lines, from supercomputers to AI factories, this is India's leap forward. And this is only the beginning.
We Work India presents CNBC TV 18, The Titans. We Work India presents CNBC TV 18, The Titans.
As we move from India's digital backbone to its industrial backbone, the story of transformation only deepens. Because building an AI-powered future isn't just about modern enterprises, it's equally about modern factories. So now we shift from Bengaluru's tech nerve center to Gurugram, where India's manufacturing ambitions are rapidly taking shape. The industrial automation market is valued at around $17.3 billion in 2025 and is projected to nearly double by 2030. And India is emerging as one of the world's fastest adopters of robotics and AI-driven automation.
And at the heart of this shift is Rockwell Automation. We are here at Rockwell Automation's headquarters in Gurugram, the hub of its India operations and customer innovation efforts. Rockwell is the world's leading industrial automation and digital transformation company with 26,000 employees across 100 plus countries, powering smart manufacturing and connected enterprises worldwide. Joining me right now is a very special guest, Dilip Sahani, MD, Rockwell Automation India. Dilip, thank you so much for joining us here on CNBC TV.
Thank you so much and very welcome to our experience center here.
Thank you so much. Dilip, let me begin by asking you a very important question. India's automation market, it's looking to grow by 30%, and some people are saying that it might double in the size in the upcoming years. How is Rockwell positioning itself to meet that demand and to be positioned in that market that big?
The technologies, and more importantly, the results that these technologies produce are the things that are going to be powering the growth of the Indian manufacturing sector. It is not about what industrial automation in and of itself is going to do. It is about the results that it's going to produce for Indian manufacturers.
Speaking about Rockwell specifically, in a market ever so evolving, and you spoke about global uncertainties and how it's becoming so important for us to now more so look at manufacturing as a pillar of that change. Where does Rockwell stand right now, and how do you see yourself benefiting from this growth and driving this growth?
In the last decade, we've quadrupled in size in terms of the number of people that Rockwell has in India. So that's the investments that we're making. And these are investments across the boards. These are investments in our client-facing resources, very important, not just my commercial teams and my product managers and such, but more importantly, our domain experts. These are the people who sit along with customers day in and day out across the country, across industries, to help them really deploy these technologies in a meaningful manner, but also the GCCs that we have here in India, right? So India is already the second largest country for us globally. So that's one end. The other thing is we've also been investing in terms of expanding our own manufacturing footprint. So we had a factory in Chennai, and right now we're building 2 new factories.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. What is the one shift that you've seen personally up close with manufacturers across the country? Is there something that has changed in the last 1 decade that you believe is a big change and that is going to drive, or probably we have to get on that bandwagon for the growth?
Correct. So first and foremost, if there is one thing, one mega trend that we got to take cognizance of, that is the manner in which uncertainty has become the new normal. We've been living through a series of years where every year has brought, there have been, wars playing out just as you and I speak, the impact it's had, supply chains getting reconfigured, regionalization driven by geopolitical considerations. So uncertainty is the norm, and we got to accept that, right? So that's the first and foremost mega trend. Now, within that, across the industry sectors, across our client conversation, over the course of the year, right, what we get to see is the manner in which people are embracing that and trying to prepare themselves firm after firm. And the manner in which we are seeing, I'll share a data point with you. For the last 10 years, we've been carrying out a global survey, a study. We call it the state of smart manufacturing. What came out in response to one particular question, which was very telling for me personally, we asked a question. There's a lot of talk about AI. Have you as a manufacturer, have you already used AI in some form in your operations, or do you intend to do that in the next 3 years? The response rate from India, Shivani, was near unanimous. 99% of the respondents said yes to that. It's not only an evolving ecosystem, it's also a very rapidly maturing ecosystem around manufacturing in India. So why don't I take you amongst my colleagues, our domain experts? A lot of them are actually actively engaged in supporting the skill evolution of our clients and our partners. You mind taking a walk with me?
Of course.
Sure.
We are in the heart of the skilling innovation that you guys are doing over here. Tell me about how important it is, because right now with such ever-changing technology that we are seeing, and it's very important to keep up pace with that. A lot of industries are, and government is flagging the fact that even though we have these technologies, we don't have skilled people to use and leverage these technologies. Where do you stand today, and what is it that Rockwell is doing in this direction?
We talk about digital transformation, but to me, the focus really is on transformation. That's the key operating word here. Any amount of emphasis that we can put on skilling is insufficient. Let me just put that in that manner. You asked me a question, what is it that we are doing as Rockwell? Well, we are acting at multiple different levels. Charity begins from home. First and foremost, we are putting enormous amount of emphasis internally so that our own teams are the digital fluency within our own domain experts, people who know how to apply technology in industries like life sciences, packaged goods, automotive, etc., etc. The list is long. That's the first thing. The second thing is there is a lot of installed base that's out there. In fact, there is 90% of the opportunity that's out there to make digital relevant to manufacturers is in what we call as brownfield settings, existing factories, existing plants. So how do you go and meet the clients where they are, sit down with them and figure out what is an appropriate skills map for them, help them assess what are the kind of solutions that they're going to be implementing, but concurrent to that, what are the kind of skills that they ought to be having within their operating teams, maintenance teams, support teams, etc.
You know, on what you said, and very rightly so, that, you know, skilling, talent, all of this is going to be a challenge always, and we have to work towards it. But in that light, the government of India wants India to become, you know, to probably be in the top 3 in terms of manufacturing globally. With those aspirations, is there some policy intervention that can help private players to achieve this faster or to sustain it probably better? What do you think about that?
We are beginning to witness that policymakers are putting their money where their mouth is. What I mean by that is there's much greater amount of policy support. This budget really called out a brand new national manufacturing mission. They put out with the Niti Aayog, they've created what's called as the Frontier Tech Hub. So long story short, I'm beginning to witness after a long period of time that there is a genuine intent to bring about a change in Indian manufacturing.
My last question to you, Dilip, on that. Tell me more about Rockwell's plans in the future that are going to actually empower Indian youth.
Yeah, so first and foremost, we're very excited that at a corporate level, they not only decided to invest in India, but India emerged as a location, and we spanned a number of countries here in the region. And India turned out to be the preferred location where we chose to build these 2 new factories that we are building right now in Chennai. And of course, they are going to be creating a new category of jobs because these are manufacturing-oriented jobs that complement the GCC jobs that we have, which are engineering tech-oriented, right? So yeah, so that's one thing which we as Rockwell are doing. But I think the real impact which Rockwell will create is how do we enable our client partners to really have the ability to become more successful businesses by really being much more comfortable in deploying these technologies. We've recently put out in the public domain MOUs where we can support upcoming institutions. A global standard institution called NAMTech that is being built in India. It's going to be physically located in Gandhinagar, and we are collaborating with them to support how they can, begin to play an even more important role in solving the skills calculus for India.
Well, that was really an enlightening conversation with you. Thank you so much for joining us here on CNBC and giving us your time.
Thank you so much for coming over. Really enjoyed the opportunity.
WeWork India presents CNBC TV 18 The Titans will continue to bring you powerful journeys from diverse sectors, regions and industries. The leaders reshaping how India works, builds and grows. See you in the next episode of The Titans.
WeWork India presents CNBC TV 18 The Titans.
Namaste, Jai Hind, Vande Mataram. On this day on CNN News 18, we begin a conversation that goes to the heart of Bharat's future. Over the years, the Honorable Prime Minister has repeatedly spoken about the importance of a Swasth Bharat, a healthy nation, as the foundation of a strong, self-reliant Bharat. In a post-COVID world, this focus on fitness, preventive care, and lifestyle awareness has become even more critical. The pandemic reminded us that health underpins everything we aspire to build as a nation. When people are healthy, systems are stronger, productivity rises, and societies are better equipped to face what lies ahead. And yet, even as Bharat moves forward, some chronic health conditions affecting millions of Indians remain poorly understood, under-discussed, and often burdened by stigma. One such condition is obesity. In Bharat today, there are close to 100 million people living with obesity. Despite these numbers, obesity is rarely discussed with the seriousness it deserves. We at Network 18 recognize that as Bharat's news ecosystem evolves, so does our responsibility to contribute meaningfully to national priority, to enable informed dialogue, and to work with organizations and government in building a stronger, healthier nation. That is why Network 18, in collaboration with Lilly, is launching the Healthy Bharat Movement, a long-term public healthcare initiative that begins by addressing obesity through science-led awareness, empathy, and disease education. This is not about blame or quick fixes. It is about recognizing obesity as a chronic and progressive disease, one that deserves early diagnosis, regular screening, and effective evidence-based care. It is also about asking whether our health systems are equipped to respond to this growing epidemic and whether public discourse has kept pace with medical science. This conversation is the curtain raiser to a larger national dialogue, one that places people, equity, and evidence at the center of what it truly means to build a healthier Bharat. And joining me from our partner in this initiative, Eli Lilly and Company India Private Limited, is Mr. Winslow Tucker, President and General Manager. Welcome to the show, Mr. Tucker. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Anand, for allowing me to be part of this very important conversation around obesity.
Let's begin the conversation, and my first question to you. The pandemic fundamentally changed how countries view health, moving it from a medical issue to a national priority, closely linked to resilience and growth. The Honorable Prime Minister has consistently spoken about health as a pillar of national strength and individual responsibility. Now, in your view, why is this post-pandemic moment so critical for Bharat to reframe health as a core nation-building priority rather than just a medical concern?
Thank you, Anand. I think the pandemic made one thing clear. Health is not just a medical issue. It's core to how countries grow and function. And I'd also like to thank and acknowledge the Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi for his leadership in making sure that health is firmly in the conversation in India. And his emphasis of prevention, fitness, and healthy lifestyles has helped to elevate this into the everyday public discourse and link it to the India's broader development journey. This calls for a broader way of thinking about health. It's not just about treatment, it's about prevention, early diagnosis, education, disease awareness, and access to treatment. And viewing health as a nation-building priority really strengthens the healthcare system, and it also allows for a more close public-private partnership and us to use innovation in a responsible way to help people where they are. When policy, healthcare systems, and community behavior all come together, it's an opportunity to really build a more sustainable and resilient future for India.
So as we move from treatment to prevention and early diagnosis, some conditions clearly demand urgent attention. That is why one of the first focus areas of the Healthy Bharat movement is obesity. Now, why do you believe obesity often is misunderstood, stigmatized, and actually needs to be brought into the mainstream public conversation now as a chronic and progressive disease.
And for a long time, obesity has really been seen mainly as a lifestyle or a choice issue. And we know today that that's just not the full story. Obesity is a chronic progressive disease influenced by many factors. And yet the belief that it's all about willpower and dietary choices really does fuel misinformation and stigma. In India, obesity is a major health concern. We know that in 2023, 6.5% of the adult population is affected by obesity. And science shows that obesity is linked to more than 200 conditions, such as cardiovascular disease, hypertension, diabetes, many of these life-limiting diseases. And it's actually on the rise. So it's an increasing issue. And so unfortunately, the stigma that we've seen around obesity has prevented individuals from seeking medical attention early, which delays the diagnosis of many of these complications. Now, recognizing obesity as a chronic disease changes how we respond. It shifts the focus to early diagnosis, monitoring, evidence-based treatments, and it shifts the conversation from blame to science-based approaches. And so an open, informed discussion around obesity would really help healthcare systems respond better, and it could support millions of Indians on their journey to better health.
Absolutely, Mr. Tucker. Obesity is often reduced to questions of personal choice or willpower, even though science clearly shows it is linked to many serious health conditions. Now, for many people living with obesity, barriers such as stigma and misinformation delay access to appropriate care. Now, what are the ripple effects of this delay on the quality of life, families, and the sustainability of the healthcare system itself?
Stigma is an important issue, and the impact of stigma and misinformation around obesity goes well beyond the individual. It also impacts families, communities, the healthcare system, because we know that when people living with obesity feel judged and told that it's their fault, they are much less likely to speak to a healthcare professional or get access to the healthcare that they need. As a result, conditions such as heart disease, hypertension, and diabetes can go untreated or undiagnosed for longer. And we know that when chronic diseases are diagnosed later, they're harder to treat. People living with obesity can also experience reduced mobility and poor mental well-being. That can impact how they interact and their ability to work, participate fully in family and other daily activities. At a broader level, when people don't get timely care, it also puts an added burden on the healthcare system. Treating advanced complications always requires more resources than early diagnosis. And this has implications not just for the individual, their families, but also for the sustainability of the healthcare system. So ultimately, addressing stigma and misinformation and having people to seek care earlier is a way to get better healthcare outcomes and build a more sustainable and resilient healthcare system.
Now, you've underlined that when obesity goes undiagnosed or untreated, it often leads to late-stage complications that are far harder and more expensive to manage. Now, despite frequent contact with healthcare services, obesity is often not addressed comprehensively or early. What does this suggest about current gaps in awareness, training, and care pathways within the health system?
When obesity isn't treated in a comprehensive way, despite many people interacting regularly with the healthcare system, it highlights the broader gaps in how we approach the disease. Historically, obesity has not been viewed the same as other chronic disease, such as heart disease or diabetes, and treated the same way. Therefore, it's not routinely brought up in health consultations, and that means that patients aren't getting the care that they need as soon as they could. We know that weight can be a sensitive conversation and subject for individuals and sometimes for healthcare professionals. And what this highlights is a need to build broader awareness around obesity to ensure that it's seen more as a chronic, progressive disease that needs consistent care pathways. And also, we need to have a clear, supportive pathway for treatment that can really make a difference. When people feel connected and are open to talking about the disease, we know that we get better outcomes. And when we put these pieces together, open conversations with clear pathways, this can lead to more sustainable outcomes for individuals and society as a whole.
Now, Mr. Tucker, beyond infrastructure and access, social attitudes continue to play a decisive role in whether people seek care or remain silent. Now, how does judgment within families, communities, and even healthcare settings delay diagnosis and treatment? And why must addressing stigma be a part of any serious public health response?
I'm really happy we're talking about stigma because this is a very important topic. You know, stigma really does make things harder for people living with obesity. When people feel judged, whether it is at home, whether it's in the public, whether it's in society at large, it makes it harder for them to reach out and get the care that they need. They may hide their struggles or avoid asking for help. That doesn't help them. It doesn't help society address obesity. And it's not just about feeling embarrassed. It's actually delaying them getting the proper care that they need. This kind of judgment also can affect someone's confidence and mental well-being. And they could feel isolated, withdraw from participating in activities and participating fully in society. And that's a real cost for them as an individual, their families, and communities. That's why tackling stigma is so important. If we can change the environment where people feel understood, they know that there is help and people are willing to support them, it can make a big difference with them getting help early. Addressing stigma is not just about kindness. We should all be kind, but it's also making sure that everyone gets the care they need and that we can build with for society a much healthier future.
On that note, we'll take a very, very short break. When we return, we continue our conversation with Winslow Tucker and discuss why obesity must be treated like any other chronic disease, and what this means for Bharat's productivity and healthcare costs, and how progress in care can be measured. Stay with us.